Welcome to The Little Things You Hear Together, where we dive deep into Broadway Cast Albums to figure out why some hit harder than others. I'm Alex Asp, and my guest today is friend of the pod, Patrick Flynn. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a lot easier than the last time you were on, because
Sure.
the last time you were our season 2 wrap-up guest, and you went through and scored every album from that season.
I did, because that's the kind of guy I am, Alex.
And that's why I love you. But only one album for us today.
Yes.
So
only one.
Today we get the lovely 2017 original Broadway cast album for Bandstand. What is your relationship to this show and album?
None. So this is going to be a journey. God, everyone buckle in, because my immediate response after the first time I listened to it was, Alex, I thought we were friends. But then that, that's the snark. You sort of push that aside, and I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again. And I will say that I certainly listened to it when it came out, back in 2017. I was certainly aware of it. When I first saw the ads for it, was under the misimpression that it was a jukebox musical.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Which I don't think they did anything in the ads to dissuade you of. There was no big with a score by, big name for that.
Yeah.
But it is not in any way, though. Actually, we'll get into that, I'm sure, in a few minutes. But so I didn't have much of a relation with it, and obviously our mutual acquaintance Robbie Rozelle did the artwork for it, and it was on his label, the label he worked for at the time. So it was a cast album I was very aware of, but I'm sure I listened to it when it came out, and then I don't think I'd listened to it again until this very week.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is one where, for me, you know how a lot of albums you will always get taken back to where you first heard it or really first listened fully to it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this was, I think, summer of 2018 or 2019, and the apartment building I was living in had a pool outside. So I remember lying outside by the pool, and this was one of the albums I listened to that summer. And I don't know why, it's just kind of, it hits at a time that I was in the place to hear it and receive it and be a fan.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of shows I will listen to once, and then I'm like, and then I come back, a few years later, and oh, okay, I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, all has to line up. But this kind of lined up perfectly the first time I listened to it. So I'm a big fan of this album.
Oh, that's
this
great.
show did not get a lot of love, and the album then also did not get a lot of attention from most people.
Yeah.
But it's one that I'm very excited to dive into, because I think what I love the most about it is the general premise for the show is it's about the realities of returning home from war. And that has been done many, many times. And it usually leaves me annoyed, because it's painting this overly romanticized picture of what that means and, the heroes and all of that part of it. And it's not very often that any of those feel authentic to me. And
Mm-hmm.
the way this story is told makes it actually feel believable, that you're appreciating what they did, but also appreciating how much it hurt them to do so. So I was just, I think, taken in right away with, this is not the standard, syrupy sweet, look at how great our heroes are kind of a musical. And I appreciated that just because that's such an unusual thing to get in any kind of media.
Sure. So I would agree with you insofar as that's what this show wants to be about. But the thing I ultimately kind of landed on was, I think it kind of gets lost in its own sauce at the Act 1-2 turn.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, and it never loses, it never dips into that thing you just said. It never gets saccharine, it never gets sentimental. It tries to stay true to itself, which is that going away to war is damaging to everybody who participates in it, and it can ruin whole facets of your life that you don't even think it's going to touch. But once the love story kicks in, it kind of it's like it's trying to do too much, as they say on Parks and Recreation. It tries to half-ass two things instead of whole-assing one thing.
Yep.
And it just kind of falls flat. I do think it gets its mojo back weirdly right at the end, and then kind of loses it again for the epilogue. But the finale, it really remembers. It's sort of weird, because the characters kind of remember what they're fighting for,
Yeah.
and the show kind of remembers what it's about. It's like, all right, this is what we're about. And now this last number, this 11 o'clock number, will be on point all of a sudden after like an hour of being off point. We're going to go right back on point. So it gets there.
I will agree that the love story part is not necessary, not in
It's
with the rest of the
so,
show.
yeah.
And it's the songs that are about the love story are the ones that I am least likely to want to listen to ever, because
Hmm.
it really does not fit as well as the rest of it. I'll certainly give you that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the lowest point in the show every time for me was This Is Life, I think.
Yep.
That's their big love song, right?
Yep. That's the low point
So
for everybody, I
so
think.
I am not ever a fan of people in plays or movies or musicals going, "This isn't a play, movie, or musical. This is real life." Because it almost always falls flat. It almost always makes you go, "Well, this yes it is. You've just reminded me that that's what I'm watching." And you're trying, I get what they're trying to do. You're trying to subvert stakes by being like,
Yeah.
these characters don't know they're in a musical, so like it's not for them, it's not a musical. But then at the same time, it's still going to end the way a musical ends. So like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. It's one of the things musicals don't do well at all. Plays do them okay. Movies can do them if they lean all the way into the bit, but it's always a little like, it feels like cheating. It's one of those writing things to me
Yeah.
that always feels a little bit like you can write a better scene than that. And that is This Is Life is a whole song of that, which is just like, man, you're really just reminding me how this is not reality at
Yeah.
all.
I'm sure there is a way to do it well, but it is not this.
Yeah, not great.
So this is music by Richard Oberacker, lyrics by Oberacker and Rob Taylor, who
Hmm.
are not big names in the Broadway community by any means.
Right.
But I think they definitely capture the big band feel of the era, which is fun. And for me, I always am music first in a show versus plot. I come to that. If I don't like the music, I'm never going to get into the plot, most likely. So I appreciate that the music is fun. Uh, Before we get too far into things, I do want to address the Laura Osnes of it all and just get it out of the way.
I was wondering how you were going to handle that. I was going
Yeah.
to let you lead. Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Laura
True.
Osnes was ostracized from the Broadway community in 2021 as an anti vaxxer. And personally, I think she was treated very unfairly, the way it all went down, at least. I disagree with her not wanting to get the COVID vaccine, but it was still relatively early. And basically, what happened is she had a gig booked, and they said, "We need proof of vaccination." And she said, "Oh, I'm not vaccinated. I'm not ready to do that yet. I understand I can't be a part of this. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope we can work together in the future." And somehow that got leaked and turned into her being a rallying point for, against vaccination, which she did not do. She did not spread misinformation. She made a personal choice in private that was then leaked. And I think the outrage was very disproportionate to the event that happened.
On the internet, you're kidding.
I know, it's amazing.
So I think you're, so again, I'm not fully informed on everything that happened here, but my impression of it was following the sort of the whole event is that yes, it did start in private, yes, it did become public, but and while she may have been pushed, she certainly didn't handle herself well in the aftermath.
Yeah.
And I think found a group of people she could then, like so many people when they get she got subsumed by a group of people and supporters that would then further lead her astray. I don't know if she ever did get vaccinated. I think, it isn't entirely our business, but at the same time, the larger point to me is that it speaks to an era of people, that whole, I want to do my own research, I want to make decisions for myself in it, and that sort of phrasing becomes very triggering for people because it is the fringe side of a much larger anti-science, anti-everything,
Yeah.
measles outbreak, Robert F. Kennedy problem. And it speaks to the fact that, like, people bemoan, I hear people bemoan a lot, as I build this straw man in front of you, bemoaning, like, things being politicized. Why does everything have to be politicized? Well, everything is politicized. That's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
And because certain people who are in control want it that way, because it's easier for them to politicize everything and then complain about the fact that everything's politicized. So I think she was partially a victim of overreaction, but at the same time, afterwards, once it blew up, she didn't then make any effort to purport herself in such a way, I think, that was one that would make people go, "Oh my gosh," because then it just blows over. You know what I mean? Like if you come out, you're like, "No, I haven't gotten vaccinated yet. I'm totally intending to get vaccinated," or like, "I think it's a good idea. I'm not saying you shouldn't get vaccinated. I'm not, you know, like I just, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not yet, and therefore I can't do this job." And I think instead she immediately went to the corner of, I can do what I want, and at that point in life, everybody was, you know, you're also dealing with theater people in an industry that was and still is 6 years later, playing with scared money and constantly terrified that everything's going to fall apart again. And when you haven't taken all the precautions necessary to protect a production or a cabaret performance or anything of people getting sick, people who are day players making day rates, who if this gig gets canceled may not make their rent this week, take that very seriously and get very defensive about it, because like we could get sick, but if everybody doesn't take the precautions seriously, we're definitely going to, those chances increase. So it's an incredibly fraught thing, but she did become, probably unfairly, a lightning rod for that particular thing. Whereas somebody like Zach Levy, you could much more readily make a lightning rod for that, and he deserves it. So, I think he would be proud of that. And so,
unfortunately,
you know,
and I think partially because of when his whole thing went down, being a few years later,
yes,
and maybe some misogyny of their not getting as much scrutiny of the man as the woman, he is definitely the much worse person.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
And he has doubled down and again on the horrible things he said. But at the end of the day, for the purposes of our discussion today, I plan to only think of Laura's performance and her qualities as a performer. So anything that comes after this, and we're
not going to ask where she was on January 6th.
No,
we're just not going to.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just steer clear of that for the rest of this conversation now that it's out of the way.
Though I could honestly spend the rest of our time together talking about what a terrible name Julia Trojan is as a character name. Like, maybe like top 5 worst character names I've ever heard in my entire life. Because every time it was said on the cast album, all 3 times I listened to it, I went, God, that's her name? Like, it was one of those, like, really? That's what we did draft after draft of this? And we're like, yep, Julia Trojan, that's what we're going.
Right. They did it to have a joke that they made fun of her husband for his name in the war.
Sure.
But that's the only reason to have that be the name. And it's not worth it.
Not a good joke. It is not a good joke. It's a memorable name. I will say, from a dramaturgical standpoint, you want to do it, you want her to have her husband have a very memorable last name, because when you meet her, you want to know exactly who she is. You want, like, there be no, but there's so many. I've never met anyone with that last name. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but like, I've never met somebody with the last name Trojan. And so it just really sticks out a mile that her last name is Julia Trojan. And his name's like Duggar Trojan or something, right? Or he's got a very odd name. Is it Michael? Doesn't he have a nickname, or am I making that up?
Rubber.
There we go.
Rubber.
Right, they call him Rubber. Right. Yeah. Of course they do.
That's the joke. That's the only joke.
Yeah, that's a terrible joke too. That is a long walk for a short drink. And
very much.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Despite that, though, like, there are a lot of things from the basic level of this show that I understand are not the best, but I do appreciate, especially after the last few shows I've recorded episodes for, the lyrics for this show are fairly well done as far as good structure, true rhymes, and I've been getting more and more annoyed with other shows having, like, it's like they don't care if the lyrics are well structured, they're just there. So I do appreciate that they at least put time into that, and I may have a couple examples as we go through, but in general, I appreciate good lyric writing. As a fan of Sondheim, of course, that is something I will always pay attention to.
Yeah, I would say it's perfectly cromulent lyric writing. Like, it doesn't. There's few moments where it ticked my ear as being, and it was one of those list songs like "This Is Life" or thing where they kind of, you could sort of see the rhymes coming a million miles away. But yeah, on the whole, I found it largely unoffensive. I would say, which, if that's not damning with faint praise, I don't know what is.
Yeah. The orchestrations, I like the swing and big band sound of it. That is very well done. Orchestrations by Bill Elliott and Greg Anthony Rassin. The sound of a big band, swing era group is just fantastic, and I love hearing that throughout all of this. An interesting bit of trivia. So Alex Bender plays Nick Riddell. He has 7 Broadway credits, but this is his only one acting, because the rest he is in the pit playing trumpet.
Oh, in the pit. Sure.
Including in Paramore earlier in this Broadway season that we're covering. And he's currently on Broadway in Ragtime in the pit. So it's funny that he has a long career in the pit, and they're like, yeah, we want people on stage. We're not just going to find actors who can play the instrument. We're going to find the actual instrumentalists. And you can act well enough? Great. Perfect. That's all you need. So that's just a little fun thing. For anybody who is not aware of it, there is a pro shot that's available on YouTube. I definitely recommend watching that, if nothing else, than to enjoy Beth Level, because she is fantastic. Yes. She is so funny. Every time she comes out, it's hilarious. I love her so much.
Absolutely. Always appreciated to see Beth Level.
Yes. Shall we just dive in?
Sure.
So the first track is Just Like It Was Before, and I do appreciate the way that taps is used throughout this score, but it's how we open the show. It is reminiscent. It's not hiding what it is, but it's not being overly obvious, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of, like, there are places that it's obviously taps, but there were a lot of places I didn't realize until much later, oh yeah, this is also based on taps. And pulling that in, I think, is a nice way to give some cohesion to the score and stay in the theme.
So I want to ask you a question as a professional music theater absorber. Is there anything on this earth that music theater is less well equipped to handle than active military combat? Because the battle scene right at the top, where him like calling in the guys and like, you know, on me and whatever, like that whole thing.
Hey, Morris, I need that cover. Rico, need you, brother. Davidsky, grenade, on my go! Go! Get out!
It is the most. It's the only moment in the show where I would really say, like, guys, you're starting on completely the wrong foot. Having seen like shows where it is, you know, like Miss Saigon, where they try to do it to varying levels of success, and there's always something very disingenuous, except for in Les Mis, there's always this sort of something very disingenuous about like the scope of combat and doing it kind of stylized and very, it just feels very, very disingenuous. I didn't watch the pro shot, so I don't know if this is supposed to be a dream or if this is supposed to be reality.
I don't think it's clear.
Okay.
I kind of feel like it's more, we're seeing his memory of it.
It's amorphous. In that case, it's fine. Like in that case, it works for that.
Because it doesn't
that
have
kind
to be
of thing.
real. It's his recollection or how he felt about that moment.
Yeah, but it starts the whole thing off on the back foot, in my opinion, because it's very melodramatic. Like it just is. You know, anytime you have warfare on the stage, it's always going to feel kind of flat because there's no scope to it. It's so hard to have like the big scope, which is why Les Mis works, because it is just that barricade.
It's just that one that thing. Is the whole scuffle,
and we never go outside of it until the battle's over. Like we're just in that room with those people and they're fighting. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the scope of it is appropriately sized. And in Miss Saigon, again, like they're escaping. You know, there's like the chaos is happening around them, but we're not focused on that. We're focused on other aspects of it. So, but I do really feel like this show did itself no favors by starting there instead of starting with something sort of more like I like shows that just jump in, and I think that like once he gets his feet on the ground and he's running around looking for work, then I'm back in again. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? But you're like you're a half a song behind sort of at the start.
Yeah, I think the idea is that we get part of that interaction and we'll get more of it later, and it'll be referenced again throughout the show. But I can see your point of we didn't need to have it here to do that. And is it even worth it to have that be a callback later? Is it necessary? So, yeah, there's definitely that. It does help us to understand what's going on with the way the dialogue is included, and we're getting some amount of that to help us along, which is appreciated. And then, so after that bit, he is back in Cleveland trying to find a job as a musician, and no one has any gigs for him because they all hired new people when their regulars were off at war, as happens.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely encapsulates the theme of the show that despite what we'd like to believe, people returning for more can never be just like they were before. And it does a disservice to them to pretend otherwise, which this song is on the radio. People are praising the troops and saying, yes, they're back. Everything can be back to normal. And we're seeing that that is absolutely a lie. And Donnie is our main focus through which we are seeing this world.
Yes.
The band is tuning up to play your favorite song. So like you used to, come and sing along. And there are endless carefree days in store. Before you know it's kapow, it'll be just like it was. It'll be just like it was. It'll be just like it was before.
So there are times in this show where Corey Cott's acting feels a little stiff to me. But then there are times that is in his, I think, working in his favor. Like he found a way to make it work for the character. Like when he's asked, like he's looking for work, and this guy says, well, I have a wedding that is looking for an accordion player. Do you still do that? And he responds with, a gig's a gig. And there's like that half second of hesitation that is very subtle, but you kind of can tell through the voice acting that he's like, really, you're gonna make me go back to that again? But then he takes it because he needs money and he needs something to occupy his time.
A pal of mine's looking for an accordion player for a wedding. You still do that?
Gig's a gig?
I'll tell him.
So in that instance, that stiffness works in his favor, but often it is not the best.
Yeah, it feels a lot of the acting. And again, not having seen the show, not having watched the pro shot, I don't know if this is something they're playing up for the recording, which is very possible. But a lot of it feels like that oft parodied Broadway musical style of acting where you can feel them like turning suddenly and saying a line, and then all the pauses are very telegraphed and the movements are very... So until they start singing and dancing, it all feels very artificial. It just feels very wrong. It all just feels very, very big. And you're right. There are moments where it, especially because it's a recording and all I have is his voice, it plays wonderfully. But the prolongment of it kind of does make you kind of go, man, there should be less dialogue on this record, like just in general. But not
fair.
helping.
Yeah. I do like, especially other people, the dialogue that we're getting about how they're like, the one guy is saying, oh, we've got this young guy, the girls love him. It's like, I bet I could play circles around him when I was 18. Well, you're not 18 anymore.
18 anymore, are you? Yeah.
So we at least get some other people having more fun with their line deliveries that isn't quite as stiff.
Yes.
But yeah, he's just going around and around, and I think it's not overly complicated. It's one main idea that we're exploring. There's a little evolution throughout the song, but not a ton. But I appreciate that we're getting a lot of big band 40s sound, but also little bits here and there to make it feel more modern and not stilted. Like at the end, the dissonance of the Just Like It Was, like one of the last times that they sing that is very much more of a modern harmonization than of the time. But I think it still fits well and kind of weaves with that style effectively.
It'll be just like it was. It'll be just like it was. It'll be just like it was.
How did you feel about... There were several times in the score, not in this song, but maybe actually in this song, but in several other songs, they quote other standards of the time. They quote Sing, Sing, Sing. They quote a couple famous pieces just for,
Rhapsody
a couple
later.
bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found that distracting more than it was immersive. I think the intention was to be like to give the score that feeling of, like you say, like it's 40s inspired, and it's supposed to be evoking that time period. But I found it's often when I think you put in songs like that in an otherwise fully original score, it only aims to highlight how great those songs were and how kind of fine the score you're listening to is. Because it's even just because it's new, like your ear isn't tuned to it, your ear isn't comfortable with it the way it is with those other standards. And I say that in general, I agree with you. I liked the way they kind of fluctuated back and forth between the styles. But the time that always fell flat to me, and we'll get to these songs in a little bit, is when they were supposed to be fully songs written by Donnie and Julia from that time period,
Yeah.
those still felt like very modern Broadway songs. And I wished they had really not dumbed it down exactly, but like thought about that a lot more when they were building those songs. You know what I mean? Like really leaned into like
Yeah.
what would make this, what kind of song would have theoretically been a hit at this period of time? It's a hard, big ask. I know what I'm asking, but like I'm not the one who decided to write a musical about this time period. So
Right. Yeah, I think the idea is that it feels like, from a commercial standpoint, it feels authentic enough to the masses, but has a little bit more of a modern feel so that people aren't feeling distanced.
Yeah.
And I think if that is your goal, then you're going to have a little bit more distancing of people who do know that style better. And whether that was the right choice or not, clearly it didn't work out well enough for them because they didn't get mass appeal to have a long run.
Right. I mean, it didn't. So I think it really does speak to the idea that like, if you're going to do the thing, do the thing.
Yeah.
Don't try to be too cute by half. Don't try to like sand off the edges. Like if you're going to do this kind of story, then do it. Have the courage of your convictions and do it.
Yeah.
And because I would much rather be talking to you today about a show that tried that and only ran for 166 performances, but was interesting, than what we're doing right now, which is a show that was, I mean, I love talking to you, Alex, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's a show that ran for not a long period of time and is kind of that, and I understand why. You know? Like I'm not like, where's my Bandstand revival? Like, oh, the show just needed the right, you know, oh man, if they could just work that book a little bit, they'd have it. Yeah, this isn't that. This show's like, yep, that was definitely a show that I watched that you did.
Yeah.
Good.
And I think this, like for me, this is a cast album I enjoy. And for that, I'm glad it was on Broadway to get a good cast album that was recorded well. But yeah, as a show itself, it's not the best.
Yeah.
In general, with like the musical quotes you mentioned, I think I don't know enough to be able to explain why. Sometimes it feels good and sometimes it feels really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it stands out as too distinct from the song around it, that's never good.
Yeah.
But like but sometimes it makes sense to reference something like later with the Gershwin song when they play Little Rhapsody in Blue.
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, that fits because they're referencing the song specifically and then playing a little bit of it.
Right.
But then other times it's like, it kind of comes down to individual, listeners and how much you recognize that is a quote. Like, I know what it's referencing exactly. And so that might make it more jarring to have that thrown in versus that feels kind of familiar, but I don't know why, in which case it might augment the authenticity for some listeners of, well, this feels like something from the 40s. And well, yeah, that's because it included something from the 40s.
It is. Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how to predict which ones are going to work and which ones won't. It's a risky thing for sure. And maybe there's more strategy if you're a songwriter to have ideas of where to do it and where not to do it. But like I think of in the opening of In the Heights, the You Must Take the A Train, that is, I think, well done because it's referencing it musically, but it's still in the style of In the Heights, and it's not fully taking you out, and it doesn't sound weird if you don't get the reference, which is always important too. If you need to get the reference to appreciate it, it's definitely not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely tough, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like an incomplete thought. Like it was an idea we had and we're going to do it. And then for whatever reason, either because, you couldn't clear the rights or because it wasn't working or it was working sometimes. And you just like, it just like this show feels a lot of the things in this show feel like half of an idea. And like, if you throw enough half ideas together, you can fill 2.5 hours. And that's kind of at its worst, how I feel about this show is that like it has excellent ambitions and excellent intention. But at the end of the day, it just feels like it needs like, and I know you've talked about a lot of these shows on your show. I certainly talked about 1,000 of them on the original cast, but it like feels like it just needs one more pass.
Yeah.
Like, let's really sit down and look at this whole thing and like, okay, what are we doing? Like, why is there's a lot of times where I don't think they asked why. Like, why are we doing that?
I haven't heard anybody call it this, but I've decided I'm going to call it the Arthur Lawrence effect of you need to have somebody objective to help you kill your darlings when it's necessary. Because I don't know enough about the development of this and how much the score morphed over time in its development, but I feel like a lot of shows will have something that is a remnant of an earlier idea. And they went in a different direction, but kept this thing, and now it doesn't work. But they really liked the thing that it was referencing, so they left it in. And those kinds of things, it's like, I definitely understand why you liked it, but you have to be okay with moving on when the rest of it is not there. And now this makes no sense.
Well, and there's also the question of when you're doing a show and, like, obviously the choreography for the show won a Tony Award, Andy Blankenbuehler, fresh off of Hamilton and the Cats revival. Don't forget that Cats revival that happened in there.
They'll be on the wrap up this season because there's no
There you go.
album.
It's like he's the force behind the show. He's riding that Hamilton magic all the way to another Tony Award. And his first not his first directing credit. That's not true. He's done. I think he did Bring It On before this. But when the thing that is clearly working the whole time is the choreography, you don't want to have to redo the choreography. If like the rest of the show's in trouble and the choreography's working, I do get the impulse of being like, well, and I'm specifically talking about the musical quotations here. We don't want to take the musical quotations out because like we've already choreographed that song, and I don't want Andy to have to redo it because it's great and it's working. So like just don't screw with the stuff that is working. But as a result, you end up with kind of, again, like a lot of half ideas. And for the ninth time, I'll stop saying it eventually because you hear it, listeners, but I didn't watch this show. So like I'm only going off of listening to it. And obviously this show is created to be watched. So maybe it works perfectly well in the house. However, again, I will say 166 performances. So maybe not.
This is a general theme as well for the podcast that certain things, the primary goal should be to make a good show in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, I would hope, usually not thinking about what would work for a cast album.
Sure.
So if you're looking ahead to that, you're going to miss the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So you may feel very differently if you watched it and said, oh, these musical things, I don't mind now because I get the visuals that are why they kept it in, et cetera, et cetera. But when we're talking about the cast album on its own, the reason I structured the podcast as it is for a lot of these shows, it is the only way to ever experience it, to listen to the cast album. So that, why do we like this or not that? Well, maybe you needed to be there, and
right.
That can be fine.
And
it just
in which
means
case,
it's
fair.
not-
Yeah,
it's just not
that's a very fair thing.
It's
Right.
not helpful for us as listeners of the album alone.
And maybe we've just spent more time talking about it than they ever did. Is the other
That also could be.
There's always that, like, there's that aspect of it. Is like we just thought it was a fun idea and thought no more about it, and it bothers me, but it doesn't bother anybody else. Great, also totally fair.
Yep.
All right, we're one song
We're
in.
one
Here
song.
we go.
Well, but it's been a lot of talk about things that are themes throughout the whole
Yes,
show.
yes,
So
throughout the whole
it's
show,
okay.
yeah.
But we'll get to the next one now. Donnie Nowitzki.
Yes.
So Corey
Our
Cott,
I want song question mark?
kind of.
Kind of.
I want / I am becoming.
I am song.
It's not truly an I am
sort
song
of.
or an I want
Right.
song. It's kind of in between and kind of something else too. But
Mhm.
for as much as Corey Cott can be wooden when he's speaking, he definitely gets a lot of fun out of singing in this song, which is really enjoyable to listen to him having fun. And for the character, it's because he's had this idea at the end of the last song that there's this radio contest that he may be able to put a band together and have purpose and, get rich and all the things that he wants to have happen for his life. So this is him actually being buoyed by something instead of being beaten down by everything.
1,000%.
Made it through. Now my number one priority is to put a band together that did too. Every horn and clarinet will be a military vet and be playing with authority.
I am not in any way an absolutist. I always tell my students when I teach writing and when I teach theater, you can do anything you want. A lot of people have rules about the way, like I had a mentor once who said, if the story doesn't have a strong love story, it will be an unsuccessful musical. Or it's not centered around the love story. Not that it doesn't have it. It has to be centered around a love story or it can't be a musical. And for this reason, they didn't like Fun Home. They couldn't be more wrong if they tried. Like, let me be very clear about that.
I mean,
Fun
that-
Home is one of the
That
10
maybe
best
was true in
musicals
the
ever written.
40s.
Yep. There's a lot of things where that's not true if you think about it. But anyway, a lot of people have those opinions. However, I will say it's not that you have to have an I want song, but if I don't know what the main character wants explicitly, then I don't have a lot to hang on to. And so I think that if there was a world in which like Just Like It Was Before morphs into an I Want song for Donnie and for everybody else of like, we want it to be just like it was before. And we just know that they'll never achieve that, so we're going to watch them try. But Donnie Nowitzki doesn't, like you say, it's not an I Am song, which is also can be like an acceptable replacement for an I Want song where the character just comes out and it's like, this is who I am. And then we're going to watch the show challenge that for the next 2 hours. But really, I didn't know this show is so plot focused on like getting the band together and then them being a success. And it really shows the shortcomings of that. Like, because anytime the plot loses propulsion, I totally lose interest. And like, if you're going to have a plot forward show, the plot better be solid. It better be well built, and it better never stop, because the minute it stops, I'm going to go, wait, why are we doing this again, guys? I forget. And if I don't know, then I don't know. Now I get like, he wants to be a success. He wants to play piano. He wants to have a band. He wants to honor the troops. All of these things are true. That's a lot of things. Like, where if you can just come out and be like, I want, like, and even if he said all those things in a song, like he wants too much. And then at the end of the show, he realizes like, I don't need to win. I just need her, and I need to tell the truth about the truth, like our experience. Then you can have it. It's just,
Yeah, and
this song really falls flat for me for that reason. But it is performed very well.
Yeah, that's very fair.
But Donnie Nowitzki could be Frank Sinatra if someone would give him a break. In fact, I'd be better, because I play piano and he can't read music, the fake. Donnie Nowitzki spent 4 years in battle. I carry the scars when I croon. Frankie Sinatra skipped out in the army and half the time sings out of tune. He's so flat.
I think if you're thinking about this realistically, all those elements are here in different songs in different shapes. Mm-hmm. But this is definitely an example where the real world does not translate onto the stage as cleanly as, like, there are these musical theater conventions for a reason, because mm-hmm. you're having to bridge the gap between what we'll read as real and what won't. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely not as explicitly stated as it could be. But for me, I guess I followed the train of thought enough that I was able to look past it and feel like, well, yeah, they just sang a song about Just Like It Was Before. And I think, there's kind of that he knows it's not going to be possible, but he still wants some version of that. Mm-hmm. But to your point, that's never explicitly stated. It's just inferred.
And I think often shows don't have I Want songs because the authors don't really know what the show is about.
Yeah.
Like that. Versus... That is a thing that happens in now, that like, if you don't if the show's about, a show can be about a lot of things, but if you don't have a theme in your mind, you're going to come unmoored as you go along. Mm-hmm. And I think this show went into production with like, it's the 40s, they're back from war, they're putting a band together, that's where the music comes from, that's where the dances go, and this is how we can, and then it's a show. And they're not wrong, but it's sort of built backwards in that kind of way. Which, and now an example of like my most favorite show from this season and one of my most favorite shows of all time, Come From Away, does not have an explicit I Want song because it's an ensemble show. What it does have is an opening number that explicitly explains to you where you are, who these people are, and it also sets you up for the fact that it's just going to be these, 10 people, and they play multiple characters, and we're jumping around a lot, and it's also centered around a national historical event that we all, those of us who are old enough, vividly remember, and those who weren't old enough are very aware of. I will be interested to know how Come From Away plays in like 20 years when that's not the case. But also one of my least favorite shows from this season, sorry, Dear Evan Hansen, does succeed in some ways because Waving Through a Window is a banger of an I Want song. And like, it takes you a long time to notice that the show isn't actually about anything because it starts on this very, very intense high point. And you're like, I am in with you, sir. I will follow you to the end of the earth. Wait, you did what? You didn't know? Okay, never mind. Sorry, hang on. I'm not following you anymore. But you see what I mean? Like, it can work in both ways. You can have a strong I Want song in a show that, like, to me is not successful, and it will get you through, man. It'll get you past a lot of problems if you could just like come out and be like, I'm Donnie Nowitzki. This is what I do, and this is what I want, and now I'm going to go get it. And I'm like, yep, here we go, buddy. I'm right there.
Yeah.
Let's go put the band together.
I would say, like, to your point earlier of you're not sure if you believe in rules. I definitely believe in rules for composition of in a lot of things. I believe in rules because you need to know what you're working with to then intentionally go against it. Like you can
Yes.
break all the rules, but you need
Very
to,
true.
you need to know the rule that you're breaking, or else
Yes.
you're just going to wander aimlessly. And then
Well, because otherwise you're just flailing.
yeah, and
You're
so
just sort of like you're,
if
you're
I
just
don't-
casting about.
if I don't want to have an I want song, and I have a reason for that, great. That'll give me focus for not just that part of the show, but the show as a whole. Versus
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I didn't even think about it. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to feel a little unfocused. So
There's a lot
know
of
the
stuff
rules
you
to
can
break
get
the
away
rules.
with not in the sort of the rules. Like you don't need an 11 o'clock number. You don't need like there's certain things you can get away with, but like in screenwriting and play, straight playwriting, we talk a lot more about the inciting incident, the thing that if it didn't happen, there wouldn't be a story, and how that has to be very clear for the audience. Like, and now we've begun because this is the thing we've all been kicked out. Like this is what is kicking everybody in the right direction. And you can not do that, but you better not do it on purpose. You better be going like, I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm going to replace. You have to replace it with something. Like I say, you don't have to have an I Want song. You can have an I Am song. You can have a This Is Where We Are song. You know, like you can replace it with something else. But either way, 15 minutes in, you better tell me what I'm looking at. You know, because it's comedy tonight. It's that same thing. Like you have to tell the audience what kind of show they're seeing.
Yep.
If you don't do that, the audience is going to kind of meh. You know, theater, drama, these things are weird.
yes,
You heard it here first.
That's definitely
and
true.
you gotta, anyway.
Yeah.
Two songs in.
Yeah. One of the things that I feel like I've been harping on more this season than in the past, but whatever, is the ways that syllabic stress can just really annoy me and take me out of it.
Ooh, go, go, go. I love this stuff. Hit me.
And it actually, for the most part, it doesn't bother me as much in this, but they say cream rises and he's, the accented syllable is low, and then we go way up for the unaccented syllable.
They say cream rises, but what if nobody tasted? If that cream rises, then spoils, it's gonna be wasted. So
And I think
Oh, yeah.
that's not
Yes. That's not how you say
not-
that.
It's not helping the singer to make it sound natural to have it written that way. By going into his falsetto, it sort of still works because it's not accented by nature of the power of his voice.
When the word helps.
Yeah, the words
Since
rises.
it's rises and he's going up on it.
Yeah, so it doesn't bother me as much here as a lot of instances, but
Yeah.
because I've been harping on it so much, I feel like I had to at least note it here that I'm not just skipping over it.
That's a big thing with me too. I will say that I think it didn't bother me that time because it felt on purpose because of the word.
Mm-hmm.
I get what they were going for, but we've all heard lyrics where they, you put the accent on the wrong syllable and it just, and you notice it. And if you're not, if you're not, I'm in workshop for my own musical right now, and there are times in the show where we do that on purpose. We intentionally emphasize, like we have a hard word to rhyme, and we intentionally accent the wrong syllable on, like we do it 3 times, and on the third one we hit the wrong syllable to make the rhyme work because it's funny. Like the audience gets it at that point. But it's a big thing with me too. Like misaccented words. It's what Sondheim always used to complain about. Like lyric writing's really hard because when you half-ass it, it sounds terrible. It just absolutely sounds terrible.
Exactly. And maybe it's the Sondheim nerd in me, and
Sure.
it's less, I think less that I got these things from Sondheim and more that's why Sondheim resonates so well with me, because a lot of things that he found important, I was like, yeah, that is important. And so
Yeah, and successful, repeatedly successful songwriters do not make that mistake. Pasek and Paul, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like current music theater composers, the Lopez Andersons, they don't make that mistake. They,
at least not often.
at least not often, or at least not by accident. If they do it, they know they're doing it, and you can you get the sense from their body of work that they have thought about this a couple of times and they've gotten to the other side. Not that all their scores are flawless. Not that, like, I just saw a high school production of Frozen, and man, that show's terrible. But that is something, that is a thing they all agree. Like, they know we're not supposed to do that, and we're not going to do it. And if we do it, hopefully it has a reason behind it. And I think that exists here.
Yeah.
I don't think it works necessarily, but I get it. Like, oh, you want to go up on rises, but it's hard.
I do appreciate rhyming stogies and pierogies in the song.
Yes.
That's a fun rhyme. Very
There's some fun
unexpected.
ones in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Picture Donnie Nowitzki, the Polish Italian, crooning his tunes, smoking his stogies. Genuine vet of an army battalion. Thin tailored suits if I cut out pierogies.
But overall, this is just, he is optimistic that because he's good, he'll come out on top. And that's,
Yeah, because this is America, and he's white and straight, so
Yes.
it's all going to be fine.
well, in the 40s, would Polish have been considered white? I think by then, yeah.
Good point.
Whiteness
They
is
never
always
talk
in
about
flux.
religion, so if he's Catholic, no. But in the Midwest and in New York, yeah, he would have been.
Okay.
He would have been fine in the 40s.
The good old thing that whiteness has
He's
never
not
actually been a real
he's
thing.
He's not getting into the country club.
Well, no, of course not.
But he doesn't have to drink at a different water fountain.
There we
so,
go.
you know,
a little of this,
Yeah.
a little of that.
a little this, a little that.
Next up is I Know a Guy. So this
Mm-hmm.
is him going to the one guy he knows. I think it's the sax player first. And he's like, this
Yes,
is
I
my
believe
idea.
that's correct.
We're going to enter the song contest, and we're going to have the leg up by having all of the members of the band be former soldiers or service members, at least, not necessarily just Army.
Right.
And then it's one by one, you meet the next person in the band, and they know a person for the next person in the band. And we
Yeah.
move through and get introduced to all of them one by one, which is a
It's
nice
fun.
enough
I
concept.
wish it was more fun. Was all I sort of kept thinking. Like,
Yeah.
I
It's
wish
very
this
low
putting-
key musically.
Yeah,
I know a guy, a former Marine. He blows like a champ and his licks are obscene. A bug up his ass, but I'd say worth a try. Cause if you want perfect, then I know a guy.
and it's very repetitive. It's so like I was kind of hoping because the second or third time I listened to it, I found myself wishing that every part of this song, when we met the new band member, was a slightly different musical part of a musical fugue or something, so that at the end, when they all played together, they would sing all over top of each other and create
Yeah.
a piece of music, like a harmonic thing. But it doesn't do that. It just repeats the same phrase 4 times, and then we have a band.
They
you know?
do go with that idea for the orchestration. As
Yes.
each person is introduced, the prominent instrument behind them is whatever they
Yes.
play.
Right.
But then you just, at the end, you just have a full band.
Yeah, then they just play
It's
at the
not
end,
the same
right.
impact as doing that with different melodies and overlapping counterpoint. So they did think of it. They just didn't take
Yeah.
it far
Well, the
enough.
orchestrations thought.
The orchestrators
You know,
thought of it.
this-
That's very fair.
Which was the other Tony nomination for this show.
It
The
was.
orchestrations and won a couple other awards. So, you know, the choreography and the orchestrations, I think, ran this show pretty much.
Yeah.
But man, you want rhythm, then I know a guy. He takes it on days. He's ready. It's all happening. It's all happening.
But yeah, there's not a whole lot else with this song. It gets us
No.
all of our main characters, and it's nice
It's
enough.
exactly what you think it is.
Yep.
Like, it's just, yeah.
So then we go to Ain't We Proud. And personally, so this is our first truly diegetic song. And I
Yes.
am much more willing to go along with diegetic music in a musical when we've been first introduced to non-diegetic songs.
Yes.
Because I don't like musicals that are apologizing for being musicals the whole time. Like, well,
Right.
yes, there's music, but it's because it's all about a band. It's Jersey Boys. It's beautiful. It's not, none of this is, like, please don't hate us for having music. We're sorry.
Yeah.
So at least if we've had a few songs that are not diegetic, it makes me kind of have my bristles are lowered already, and I can appreciate it more.
I know a guy you never guessed would be a hero, just some mellow, average fellow. To look at you and say he'd amount to zero, but in combat there's your top cat.
And this is a moment where I really wish that this song sounded A, like a 40 song, or more like a 40 song. And B, I also wish it was bad. Like, I really wish that there's always the opportunity in musicals to have songs be bad for dramatic purposes. I don't mean atonal. I don't mean unlistenable. But I mean, like, let the music help you tell the story. So they perform this song, and it's fine. Because the point is, they're not complete until Julia joins as lyricist vocalist. That's when they become.
Yeah.
Also, this can we pause for just 1/2 second and say this is a terrible title
Yeah.
for a show. This is absolutely terrible. This show is called Bandstand. It shouldn't be. I don't know what you should call it, but like, it's an awful name.
Bandstand's
for
a
a show.
different thing. Yeah.
Because I almost just said the sentence, they're not complete until Julia joins and they become Bandstand. But they're not called Bandstand. They're called the Donnie Nowitzki Orchestra featuring Julie Trojan, which is also a terrible name.
And then the
for a
Donnie Nova
band.
Band. They do shorten it to Donnie Nova.
Band. That's right, the Donnie Nova Band. That's right. But in any event, like...
That'd be an even
So
worse
anyway.
title for the musical.
Yeah, it's a terrible name. It's also, I think, why many people thought it was a jukebox musical. Because that would be called, that'd be the good title for a 40s jukebox musical. is
Yeah,
Bandstand.
definitely.
But this song is just, it's not a great song or anything. It just isn't, I wish musicals had the courage to be like, we can put a very mediocre song in this moment. Like and the audience
Especially
can
'cause
be
it's
with the
written by the
band where they're like,
characters.
it just wasn't right. It wasn't working. It wasn't what it should be. So that when they find what it should be and it comes together, everybody goes, there, like we could all have the moment.
Yeah.
Or instead, we just have like just another song. It's just as good as any other song in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
is slightly more simplistic lyrically, but not enough to be that noticeable.
but not enough to notice. Yeah, exactly.
After such a victory, you'll forgive me. Bragging of it out loud. The boys are back, and ain't we proud?
And it does, though, do what diegetic songs should do. It works in the context of the plot, but it's also commenting on the characters' lives.
Yep.
So they're all trying
And since he wrote it, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like that's what I should be hearing is a song from his point
they're
of view.
trying to
Yeah.
convince themselves that proud is the primary emotion that they should be feeling as veterans versus all the other stuff that they're actually dealing with. And maybe there's some pride somewhere in there, but that's not what we're actually at the forefront thinking about on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So after that, then we have Proud Riff, which is basically just travel music.
Yep.
It's nice. It
fun.
sounds good. It's interesting that it's a violin as the primary instrument when that's not part of the band, but whatever.
That's fine. I appreciate the inclusion of the instrumentals on this album. too,
Yeah.
I will say. I like that kind of thing.
I do as well, especially when it's so well orchestrated that it's
Right.
just
And when
very
there's
pleasant.
time for it. Like this
Yeah.
album doesn't ever feel overstuffed. It could be shorter, but it's still under 80 minutes. Like it's 75, I think, or whatever it is. It's long, but it's not. It never feels too long.
Yeah. So it's nice enough, not that long. So we'll go next to Who I Was. So this is, at least on the album, this is us meeting Julia. I think.
Right.
I think
You
she's
know, they've met,
introduced
like, a
a little bit
scene
earlier.
earlier, right?
Yeah, not much.
Yeah.
Self-assured, future all secured, that was Julia. Quick to trust, saw the world as just, that was Julia.
Yeah.
This is, so I believe in the show, so Donnie served with Michael, and
Right.
Michael died in combat.
And it was Donnie's fault, right? Or at least Donnie thinks it was his fault.
Yeah, sort of. It was a friendly fire thing where where a grenade went off when it shouldn't have, and he was the one that was the last one to touch the grenade, so he blames himself. So it's kind of like it's sort of his fault,
that
not really.
sucks.
Yeah.
Alex, now you've made me mad. Like, that's perfect. That is a perfect microcosm for this show because that's nothing. You know what I mean? That isn't, I shot my friend by accident, thereby overtly killing him. And like, it's the fog of war. Like, there's a lot of ways to explain it away. Like, that's fine. But that's a thing to wrestle with. And it's also not, I thought it was my fault, but it turns out it wasn't. You know, like there's also that thing you can have where it's like,
Yeah.
like I was in charge of the grenades and the wrong grenade went off and I was the one who was responsible, and and everybody can be like, you can't be responsible for everything. Like, even though like he was under my command and he died and that's my fault. It's like, no, you're taking on too much. No, instead they're playing hot potato and he touched it last, so he's out. Like, that sucks.
I
That's
forget
nothing.
exactly. It's something like that. Like
It's nothing.
there's a miscommunication and he ran. I don't know. I don't remember, but it's not that solid.
That sucks.
But because of that, he feels obligated to check on Michael's widow. So he goes and says hi and leaves. And so then she is reflecting to her mother, who is Beth Level.
Who was Beth Level, who's, as always, underutilized in this show.
Of
Until the
course.
prom. She would go underutilized all the way up to the prom.
Yep.
But yeah.
So, and this is in general I appreciate the lyrics of this song as being a look at the conflict of being proud of her husband but uncomfortable with the intention that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, they had a term, the gold star wife means
Yeah.
you get a gold star for your husband dying in the war.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to
It's
hear a
weird.
term of.
Before being branded a gold star wife, a distinction that's redefining my whole life.
And so she's
Yeah.
like, everybody says I'm supposed to be proud and just wipe one tear away from my eye, but this sucks. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like the life that I have now. I wish I could go back to before also.
And this show comes right up to the edge of almost dealing with that. Yeah.
Almost, yeah. I do like the way that she's phrasing it near the end of the song.
And I'm told to be proud. All the newsreels and magazines practically shout it. But I'm never allowed to admit there is nothing remotely heroic about it.
And I think that is very, very clear, and it is much more concise in telling us the point of view than maybe some other things have been so far, because it is, in general, I've always had an issue with people being called heroes, because that usually translates into we're not supporting them really, but we're going to call them
Right.
heroes so that we can feel good about ourselves still.
So we act like we are. But
Yeah, but we're not actually doing anything to really support them.
materially.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I do appreciate that she's kind of like, well, what is this word supposed to mean? It doesn't make me feel any better. So I do like it. Laura sounds wonderful as always.
Mhm.
And it's sweet. It's not trying to do
fine.
more than it is. Yeah.
Does what it does.
Yeah.
I do often find myself much more interested in her conflict than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish it was her show,
Okay.
that it was Julia's show about like, there's something very interesting about, her husband dies and they weren't married that long and she's still very young and society still expects her to get married or be married, but she also has to mourn, and she meets this guy and and she likes him. They like each other, but that's conflicted, and he maybe caused her husband's death, but like, what is anything, like, I don't know. It just, there's something a little more dramatically interesting there that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
That conflict. And I do think one of the successes of this show is it does give Julia a lot of room to breathe and to exist. It does sort of fail her ultimately, I think, as we go along. But I will say one moment that surprised me is that when she finds out the truth, or whatever she finds out, she does respond. Like, she reacts. She has a visceral reaction. Her world, like, she was starting to be happy, and now she's and now it's all being taken away from her again. And her reaction feels very authentic to me in that moment. That she finally thought things were getting back to normal, and they're actually worse than they ever were before. And that is the moment where the show is the most successful. So maybe it was just that. Like, I feel like if we'd been living with her the whole time, it's an easier way in for me as an audience member, as somebody who didn't go to war but is looking at it from the outside and like wants to help and has no idea where to start. And like, I like the scene where she tries to help Davy stop drinking, like, even though it's kind of half-assed, but like, it's the 40s. What is she going to do? It felt like she wanted, she was the only one the whole time where I was like, she is trying to do the right thing. And she desperately is trying to figure out what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually she enables Donnie to discover what the right thing is to do through her own action. Like, she enacted it. But like, he's the main character, so he has to make the decision at the end.
Right.
It would have been so much cooler if it had been her story from the jump. Because
That's
also, I
interesting.
kind of get what she wants. Like, this song, Who I Was, is a very clear I Want song.
Yeah. For
Like,
her.
I don't know who I am. I want to know who I am. I'm not who I was, and I'm not who I, like, so who am I? If I'm not who I was, who am I?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I do
Like-
really appreciate her dramatic arc through the show. I
Yeah.
think, unfortunately, that did somewhat force their hand for the romance later, because
Yes.
otherwise this has no stakes for her to have this grappling back and forth.
Yes.
But it is definitely the most interesting as far as the character struggling.
Mhm.
And I'm even
And it's the most unusual. Like, I have not seen that story
yeah.
before, and I would love to.
And it makes sense for her to be the only one that is effectively trying to make things better, because she's the only one whose experience has a template of how to deal with it. Like the grief of losing your spouse, people can offer their support. They can help her with coping strategies for that. And so she is in a much better place to be able to try to move on than them, who nobody's ever acknowledged that they're having issues after the war.
Right.
So that makes sense. But yeah, by not being focused on her overall for the show, it does create a little bit of an imbalance there.
Yeah.
Like
She always, and it's one of the big problems with the show. She really, every time she's on stage by herself, I don't want to go back to Donnie. I'm just like Donnie is much less interesting.
Yeah.
And also, sidebar, they have introducing Donnie Nowitzki as somebody who like hates Sinatra and thinks he's like flat all the time. And I know that's a knock against it, but it's like doing a show about somebody who wants to be a Broadway star and then complaining about Patti LuPone's vowels. Like, you're not like, we can do that because we're just goofing around. But like, if it just feels disingenuous. It's like, don't talk to me about how you're better than Sinatra, especially in the 40s. Sinatra's been around for 20 years at that point. Like, it's, we're way off here, guys.
Yeah. I would say that to me, that doesn't feel like disingenuous. It feels like he is not likable, that he is that convinced that he's better than Sinatra.
Yep.
So as our main intro to him, other than his bits in the opening number, that is not painting him in a very good light.
He's just complaining. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. So anyway,
Ugh.
that was a sidebar. But again, I think Julia, aside from her name, is a very interesting. Is the best character in the show.
Yeah.
And Julia and her mother, I would watch that show. Like, just do that show. That's a great show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
After the song, we go to counterpoint / Pieyesu. In the first part, the counterpoint is the guys in the band who are all trying to shrug off the demons, and they're being hunted by the ghosts of the ones that they lost in the war. This is admittedly from the video, where it's staged very well to make it very clear. On the album, it's just pretty music. But then she comes in singing Pieyesu, which I'm never the biggest fan of Latin being used in a setting like this, pop music, Broadway music, because it's never pronounced completely correctly, and it always sounds just kind of weird. Laura Osnes does a decent job compared to a lot of people, but it's just like, as somebody who has sung in choirs for most of my life and sung these words in Latin, like, this is not quite right. So I'd like it to be a little bit better, or it's not there at all. But
yeah, I wanted her to sing, like, the second or third time through. I wanted her to sing her own song, or something like that. You know what I mean? Or sing his song. I mean, like, there's something else in that of like, well, she's been sneaking off to see them. I don't know. We're really rewriting the show at this point, but it's like, yeah, it's very,
yeah,
it feels very plot service. It's like, he's got to hear her sing, so we have to find a way for that to happen. So it's church. And I do appreciate it's pre-Vatican II, so it's going to be in Latin. That's the way the Mass was done. So, like, there you go. But yeah, at the same time, it feels very, sure.
Anyway, after that, we have the reprise of Just Like It Was Before. And this I find really interesting. The reprise is less of a darkly ironic tone than the original, which is the reversal of how
you should
usually goes in a show.
Yeah.
Where the opening is, or the first version is the happy, and then it gets dark for the reprise. And I don't hate it, but it's definitely
kind of
unique.
It's sometimes what we call in dramatic writing some sort of a false victory, where he thinks all his problems are over, so the sad song has gotten happy.
Yeah.
For a second. But normally when you do that, he would then bring it back a third time
to go back
to really get dark, and like that never happens in the show. You don't have to do that, but that's normally what you would do. Sad song to happy, back to sad again. Unlike the normal thing, like you said, what you normally do is you have happy and then you reprise it in a dark way.
Yeah,
to give that second color.
I'm Not That Girl. So many examples of that.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it'll be just like it was before.
And the first half of this is Donnie arranging for Julia to come do a set with them at a club. And then the second half is Beth Level being amazing.
Absolutely.
And she is very much encouraging her daughter to go out there and live her life. And don't worry about me, I'll be here. And if you're out late enough and I'm bored, I'll just teach myself to knit crochet. It's so stupid and funny. And she just sells it because that's what she does.
She's peak Mrs. Peru in this moment.
Well, Mrs. Prue would be trying to guilt her a little bit more into it, I think.
Yeah, she pushes. She's got some good Midwestern Catholic mom.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels very genuine though. They've done a good thing by writing the character as a like, I just want you to be happy. Like your husband is dead. This seems to make you happy. Go be happy. Like it always feels very not like I'll be fine. I liked all that stuff. Be like, I'll learn it. Don't worry about me. You go do you. Stop making excuses for yourself and go do something. And I like that.
Yes, absolutely.
I got the radio with books to read, I'll be okay. I got 100 hands of solitaire that I can play. And if you're still, I'll wait, I'll teach myself to knit crochet.
Time for the party to start.
Before you know it,
It'll be just like it was before.
So Julia does go, and we get the track First Steps First.
Right.
So in the show, like I read somewhere, I don't remember where it was, but they're talking about how this is set in the 40s, but this is supposed to be a standard at the time,
Right.
which means it would have been written in the teens or 20s.
Right.
So they had to alter the pastiche a little bit to get an earlier style, and I'm not sure how much that succeeds. It definitely feels a little bit different, but not distinct
It's
enough. I
Not
don't think.
noticeably different.
Yeah.
It doesn't. They would have been. This is a rare instance where they would have been much better off actually doing a lesser known standard. Like I'm not saying you do what I couldn't even name, Let's All Thing like the Birdies thing. What's the song from the 20s? That would be kind of in the public domain. Doing a much lesser known song and then having them take it over. You know what I mean? Like have them jazz it up, have them bring themselves to it as it's going on.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to write a song or have it morph into a different song, have it quote and then come something. It feels very like I didn't notice at first that it was supposed to be that, it was like it's a pre-existing song. And then, like you said, second or third time through, I was like, oh wait, this song needs to be like 10 years old, or at least, if not more. What does that sound like? You know what I mean? Like it just all sounds anyway.
Like on multiple listenings, I can definitely tell a difference, but not immediately on first listen.
No.
And in the show, it needs to resonate the first time.
Instantly, yes.
Pardon my brashness, dear, seeing you standing here. Dancing's more customary for a soiree. Isn't the band sublime? And as it happens, I'm just in the mood to do a two-step.
And the biggest thing that's different is it's just very, very square in how it's approaching the melodies, the harmonic structure, the lyrics, and we get some kind of basic rhymes, but then they add in the rhyming foray with soiree, which I think is funny, but doesn't really feel authentic for the pastiche. I don't know, but it's kind of like a dad joke, so I kind of like it still.
So you accept it?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, we'll allow it.
I appreciate that as she's going along, she's very nervous because she's sung in church all of her life, but never in front of people by herself. So she gets nervous and can't remember the bridge. And then when, is it Davey, whoever, is like, she doesn't remember the bridge. They're like, it's the end of the world that she can't remember the line. It's just so funny the way it's delivered. And it makes me laugh.
I don't remember the bridge.
She doesn't remember the bridge.
Why be all alone?
I'm sorry.
No, wait. It's my fault. The tempo's all wrong, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. Kick it up, Davey.
Oh, thank God.
And I appreciate, Donnie is trying to be supportive of, no, it's my fault. The tempo was all wrong. Let's speed it up. And
yes, and I liked that. I liked that. Yeah. And then also in that moment, somebody else is like, finally, like that they've all been kind of holding it back.
Yeah, sick of going
and
slow.
Then they kind of let it go, and then it feels good. That's what I mean. Like if they've been doing a song that was an existing song, and they were like, let's swing it, or something. Like they shout, like this thing's old. Let's put something behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear it, and then it morphs, and then it grows, and then you go, oh, that's what they do. Like that's them. That gives them as a band kind of an identity.
Yeah.
Um,
And
as Bandstand.
and as a
which
recurring
is not their
theme,
name.
they do sort of do that idea, just very small. And they just a lot of these things they should have made more
Small,
more
half-assedly.
noticeable.
There's a lot of things you can.
Yeah. I do appreciate though, like the first steps, worst steps is some of the most annoying diction to try to do. And both Corey and Laura do a great job of making it clear, but not sounding awkwardly, overly
Yes.
enunciated. So good for them.
Soon you'll be dancing through rehearsed steps, first steps, first, ba-da-da, first steps, first steps, first.
And then in the show, there's a semi-reprise that's not on the album. It's not that long. It's not that interesting. I think it's a wise
Right.
thing to leave off because we don't need it. But then the next track is Breathe. And this is, we hear the guys in the band talking about why the band means so much to them.
As I look to my left and look to my right and see other guys who fight the same fight. And during those few short hours a day, the noise in my head goes away. And I breathe through the instrument, breathe through the end of the phrase. And as everyone plays,
So one, it's reminding them that they're not alone in how they're feeling, but also it's a way to distract themselves from the thoughts of what happened and just enjoy playing music together. And that is very, for a lot of people, I'm sure, very relatable.
I don't have a lot to say about
Yeah.
this section because it just sort of like plods along.
I like it, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Possibly the most unbelievable thing about this show is that Laura Osnes would sing the wrong notes on Proud and Tall. Like, Laura Osnes is not going to get the notes wrong.
Laura's like, yeah, there you
She-
go.
she's gonna get
That's
it right.
true. She's gonna get there.
But sure, Julia maybe could get the notes wrong.
It's good, but watch out on proud and tall. You're making it minor, and it should be major. You're doing proud and tall, and it should be proud and tall.
Proud and tall.
Again.
Proud and tall.
With me.
Proud and tall.
That's it!
Maybe, but again, like this is an idea that we've run away from
Yeah.
before, and now we're running back into it. So it's like, no, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah. So it's fine. It's
Yeah, it's fine.
them rehearsing. The song is them rehearsing for the next song. So then there's basically no transition, and we just go into the next song, which is You Deserve It.
Right.
Pick up the tempo, jazz up the beat, kick up the band, ticker tape in the street. Take to the floor now, don't be discreet. Soldier, cut loose, go and grab someone sweet, cause you deserve it. Go out and have a ball, cause you deserve it. Don't let the rhythm stall, cause when you got the call, you stood up proud and tall, and you deserve it.
And in this, we have the song, and then we kind of go back to Breathe with, they're very clearly not, it's orchestrated differently from the rest of the song. So we're lifting out of reality back into their, musical theater land, which I think the orchestrations do a really good job of making that decently clear on the album, even.
I look to my left and look to my right and see other guys who fight the same fight. I'm feeling the rush, I'm feeling the high, I'm feeling the rules don't apply.
I think in the show there's lighting changes as well, but I like when you can, it's so weird to me that orchestration did not have a Tony Award until the 90s.
I know.
Like
until
it
the
is
90s.
so valuable to a show and how you can tell a story and do so much, and it took a long time for them to realize that.
I don't know why they didn't do that. That it's such a funny thing to have omitted
Yeah.
for so long. I mean, you think there's a lot of things where it takes time for the awards to come in, or awards come in and they go out, like the Fast and Strange. But like orchestrations was a job. Like you hired someone to do that job. People fought over arrangers. Like you'd think, and they
Yeah.
just never did. They just didn't do it. Yeah, it's bizarre. Jonathan Tunick should have probably like a Harold Prince number of Tonys.
Well,
and
what-
instead, I think he has two.
What was his first Tony? Was it
Titanic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like that's so
Yeah.
weird.
It's
After all
bizarre. It's bananas.
after
He
all the
should have
Sondheim
one. I mean, he
collaborations
certainly
alone.
should have one for Company.
Yeah.
Like Company's or original orchestrations of Company are next level. Like they're amazing.
Yeah.
And then mostly everything
night
he did
music,
with Sondheim should have
Well,
an
that's why every
orchestra.
time Sondheim won, he thanked his orchestrator because he
Yes,
understood,
and his music director.
and his music director.
Yeah,
But yeah,
he knew what he
deserve
was
it.
doing.
He deserve it's fine. There's not a whole lot to say about it.
Nope.
When you got the call, you should have brought it all, and you deserve it. You deserve it. When you got the call, you should have brought it all, and you deserve it.
And then in the show, there are a few little bits of additional music before the next song. A couple lines of a reprise of Who I Was, Donnie playing the piano and singing kind of to himself. It's a good example of it's not always in your best interest to include every last bit of music on the album because it doesn't necessarily, it might help in the show to keep things going forward, but it's going to be just kind of, what the hell is this that I'm listening to? Why did this come on for 10 seconds? So there is an art to making a cast album. Who knew?
Right. Shocking. Someone should do a podcast about that.
They should. The next track is Dwight Anson and Jean Ann, and this is basically transition music / an intro to the next song. There's not a whole lot here.
And this isn't them, right?
It is.
Are they singing this song, or is
No,
this
is
the band who's on before them, right, is performing this song?
This is the hostess.
Got it.
Jean Ann Ryan is the hostess, and she is
Right.
saying, "That was the Dwight Anson Orchestra, ladies and gentlemen."
Yes. Okay, gotcha.
The Dwight Anson Orchestra, ladies and gentlemen. What a sizzling tune. I can't say for sure, but this contest may have just been sewn up.
When she says, "I can't say for sure," and it definitely gives me similar vibes to the sounding music. Maria, what is it you can't face?
Right.
It's like, that's just a little bit of a weird
Love that.
affectation that's fun. but
Yeah. What's that accent called? Mid-Atlantic. It's that
Mid-Atlantic,
Mid-Atlantic accent, which is hilarious on a nun.
Yeah.
More understandable on a radio presenter in
Yeah, a
Ohio.
little bit. But she introduces Julia Trojan and the band and the song, and then we go into "Love Will Come and Find Me Again,"
Come and find me again.
which it's a pretty song. It's weird that this is supposed to be in honor of the troops when
Yep.
there's nothing mentioned about the troops,
Not a
or
not a
even
one syllable.
implied. So that's a choice.
Yeah.
Once I learned how wrong I had been, that sometimes dreams can cave in and what then. Once I learned the hard way, faith in ever after was done, and I gave up ever wondering when love will come and find me again.
It's also for like this for a show that is very vibrant and alive and focused on dancing, obviously. So many of the songs that the band perform are languid, or at least slower tempo than the other songs. Now, obviously, this becomes the point kind of at the end. Like it's beautifully effective at the finale. But like Love Will Come and Find Me Again. I mean, it's fine, but like I've heard you sing 7 songs I like better. It's also, and I'm sure you've talked about this before. I certainly talked about it a bunch. It's the Rent problem, where like you have everybody's talking about a song, and then they perform that song at the end of the show finally, and you're like, oh, that was the song. And this sort of suffers from that a little bit with some of the numbers. It doesn't with the big number, because the big number gets sneakily introduced and then rewritten and rearranged and subverts you in a really excellent way. But with a lot of the numbers that the band performs that are the band originals, you're just sort of like, okay,
Yeah,
sure,
because
definitely a song.
in the course of Act 1, this is the one that they finally settle on to be their entry into the contest.
Right. So it needs to be their best one, and they're going to win. So this needs to
they
be their
do
best
win.
song.
They do win. So
Yeah.
you're like, how? Like this, the other songs
How
were
bad was everybody
were
else?
better,
Right.
And the other songs were actually about the troops versus this. Is,
Right. And this is just
not.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Is
works.
this supposed to be the first song that Julia and Donnie wrote together? Is this supposed to be based on her poetry?
I think it would have to be, right?
Right? Yeah. This is supposed
May-
to be.
Maybe You Deserve It. Although the vibe of that song is definitely that she is learning it, not that she helped to write it.
Yeah. In the, for what it's worth, in the Wikipedia plot description, she doesn't show the poems to him until after You Deserve It.
Okay.
But it might happen during. It might happen during You Deserve It also.
Yeah.
Um.
And that makes sense. This
But-
is her experience that's being put into the song. So
Right into the
it's her
song. It
poem.
feels that way to me. Yeah. But again,
yeah, it's it feels like it's mainly here just to set up the romance that will come later, the romance that we didn't really want or need. But
Nope. Nope.
it's-
No one asked for it, but here it comes.
Yeah, and it's not even that effective in setting up that romance.
Nope.
It's a really pretty song, but it makes no sense in the show.
Nope.
Soon you find you don't even know how many years you let go. The chance is wasted in so many ways. Lately I've been thinking it's time to take a look at what I'm doing then. Clinging to if only.
But it wins in the contest. Great.
Yes, it does.
And Laura gets to sound good and dig into it a bit at the end and have fun. We love that. So then they win the contest and they're like, all right, so you're going to send us first class to New York and it's going to be great. They're like, oh no, you have to do it all yourself. We'll see you there.
Yeah, in one of the most like, this is definitely how it would have worked moments in both times when they find out the reality
Yeah.
of the competition.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yes, this is 1,000% what would have happened. Good job,
Capitalism.
show. Like, you did it. You did it exactly right.
Yep.
It's like, no, this is a way for us to make money. You have to, like, if you want to be a part of it, like, we don't really care.
Yeah, we're here to exploit you, not to serve you.
Yes, exactly right. Anything, and we will not spend any money we don't absolutely have to spend.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Yes, exactly what would happen. It's also a great end of Act 1, high, low, to then build us back into
Yes.
Act 2 moment. It's one of the rare like structural moments in the show they do exactly right.
Yeah. And I love this song. So after the song that comes after this is Right This Way.
For Right This Way, yeah, that's a high point. Absolutely a high
Because
point.
Johnny has been really like, the only thing that's been keeping him hanging on is this is what we're working toward and it's going to be great.
Right.
And we'll get recognition. It's going to be perfect. And then to have that all ripped away, he kind of starts to lose it.
Yep,
And he
which is-
decides, we're going to do it anyway. Screw them. We're going to make it happen ourselves. And the first half of the song is him talking about the experience they're going to have. And then the second half is kind of, okay, how?
Yes.
But I appreciate it starts off with a callback to the opening that his buddy used to say to kind of calm him down and get his mind into the moment.
There is a train. It leaves the station at 5:15. And it's direct from Union Terminal right there at Public Square. 5:15. And where is he to arrive? At Grand Central Station.
So that they've even before all this stuff back at home, they were talking about going to New York on this train. And you see even more why this has been such a big deal for him, because it's not just get me out of this situation, it's the tie he has to Michael. And as he's going along, it's building. We're getting a really tense musical place with a intense drum beat and a drone kind of under the melody for the most part. So it's just very dramatic, and you can feel how intense he is about this whole situation. A lyric that I don't love is the leather seat, the steaks will eat. Why
Yes.
would he say seat singular? And it's for the rhyme, but
It's for the rhyme.
I don't like it. I don't like it at
You
all.
and that could also be a half rhyme. There's no reason he couldn't say the leather seats, the steak will eat. Like,
Yeah. And
you know, like that.
as much as
that's
I
fine.
prefer true rhymes, sometimes it's a bigger sin to keep a true rhyme and have it not make sense.
And it's an easy rhyme, a long E. Like,
Yeah.
don't overthink it. Just rhyme the long E.
Yeah. But other than that, like, it's really exciting. He's going about the train, the hotel, all these, specific things that are going to be in their future.
Let me take your bags, my friend. You've been carrying those far too long. Troubled times are at an end, and we're waiting to hear your song. It's a privilege, sir, may I say, right this way.
And the bit of, we're going to have all this, and then, okay, how are we going to do that?
Right.
And then they go into the second part of, they're going to take every booking they can get and make as much money to be able to pay for first class train tickets, not just a bus or whatever to get them there, which is fun to see him kind of dig in and like, no, I'm going to make this happen somehow.
Yes.
And you really get his kind of breaking point in this song as he's talking about how hard it's been and kind of admitting out loud what he's been trying to have this, I guess, a little bit of
Keep to himself.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
brave face.
After running for cover while dodging the flak, and 3 years and 8 months to fight my way back, and losing my faith, busting my ass. I think we're entitled to travel first class.
It is that pain of working so hard just to have the goalposts moved is very effectively done musically as well as thematically. So I appreciate that. And then as we're building the song, as you said, it knocks you back down and builds up. And we make use of all 7 of these people to have great 3 to 4 part harmonies. And I love that kind of stuff when it's done well.
A very effective Act 1 closer.
Yeah. It used to be a lot more common to have big, 4-part harmonies in musicals back in the golden age. But
Right. Back in the day.
I appreciate when it's still there now.
Absolutely.
And is there a better way to go into intermission than a powerful 9th chord? I love a 9th chord.
You love it? All right.
But yeah, it's just the song ends with them being determined to get there somehow, and they're
Yep.
going to get what they deserve.
You can bet we intend to stay right this
And that's the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
So we have intermission. There is an entr'acte in the show that's not on the album. It's not that long, but I always love an entr'acte, so I wish it was there. Oh well.
Sure.
And the next track is Nobody. So we have established in Right This Way that the band is going to be taking all the gigs. And so this seems like a very simple, catchy song to round out their set and help them get gigs around the city. But there's really not a whole lot going on in the song.
You know who tells me no? You know who tells me I don't think so? You know who tells me no? Nobody.
Yeah, it almost feels like it was the first draft for the end of Act 1.
Yeah, that could be.
You know what I mean? And they were just like, no, there's a better song. So they wrote the better song and they went, well, we still like this. And it's a theme that pops up, like this concept of who tells us no
Yeah.
in the whole second act. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, obviously, but it felt to me like as an idea for a song, Who Tells Us No, Nobody is a much better Act 1 ender than an Act 2 opener.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. Like it absolutely works. But it immediately gives way for the much more interesting stuff, which is the everybody in Cleveland massing together to get them to New York.
Yeah. And like if it was at the end of Act 1, the idea for the song would have stakes.
Yes.
At the beginning of Act 2, it just feels like they wrote a whatever song to have as part of their gig. So it doesn't have any real meaning here. But it will, because this is what's going to be reprised to end the show. And at that point, it makes total sense as we'll get through the rest of Act 2.
So get out of my way. Find somebody else who gives a fig what you say. Go discipline someone unfair. Last time I checked, you were not my mother.
But this is definitely a dance number.
Yes.
Capital D dance.
Absolutely.
And then after that is The Boys Are Back, which is very brief transition music. It's nice. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Not a lot there.
The boys are back. They're going to New York.
And then after that is I Got a Theory. So this is explicitly written as a song to get them gigs in Cleveland.
Yes.
And it's just fun and silly, and it is being very intentionally dumb, which is fun.
And has another great bit of dialogue on it, as much as I don't love the dialogue on this album, which is when he's like, you'll be helping me out, I'll give you $50. Well, okay, fine, 75. Well, all right, 100, but that's my final offer.
Yeah.
And you immediately get what's going on, is that they're like, the people are rallying around them, making sure they can do the thing. It's
It took
very
me
nice.
a while to realize that that's what he was doing. I don't know why. At first I was like, oh, he's just bumbling. Oh, wait,
It
no.
was it was funny. As I was listening to it, I remember thinking like, God, they're really putting this guy through the ringer, like he without even doing anything. And then when he got to 100, I was like, oh, you're giving them money. Okay, great. And I liked it. I like that. Yeah, I really like that idea of like, it's a nice bit, and they do revisit it in the terrible epilogue, and it of this idea of like they're very connected to their hometown. They like where they're from, and which I really appreciated that this wasn't there's no like bright lights, big city, NYC moment in this show where they're just like singing about how great New York is. No, instead they're going to sing about how it's great to live in Cleveland where occasionally the river catches on fire. Like that's fantastic. I love
great.
that. That's great. Yeah, it makes me love them a lot.
Yes, and as an Ohio boy, a lot of this does hit home for me.
There you go. See? Yeah, exactly.
I got a theory, when you are from Lake Erie, you're better than the average Joe. Though buried in snow, it's time to let the whole world know.
It's largely straightforward, just basically Cleveland is great, we're underestimated, and then near the end we get a list of the mob is returning, the ball team is losing.
Yeah.
To culminate with the river's on fire again, with
Yes.
everybody yelling in unison. It's very funny because the Cuyahoga River famously
Yes.
used to catch fire often
Yes.
because it was so polluted. Isn't that
Pollution's
lovely?
a thing. Yeah.
I think it's been a while though, so that's good.
It's been a minute since
Yeah. And then I really appreciate at the end,
They got their fancy accents on the east side of Manhattan.
But we ain't mad about we couldn't find a way to flatten.
it's so good. It's clever as a lyric, but also that's a real read of the Great Lakes
Of the
accent.
area, yeah.
You know, that starts kind of in Rochester and Erie and morphs all the way to Chicago, and
Right.
it's that
Up
the-
into
the
Wisconsin.
big-
Yeah.
and then it kind of morphs more into Wisconsin, Minnesota. But
Right.
I love a line like that catches you off guard. It's like, oh, I wasn't expecting a joke there. That's good.
Right.
But it seems to do its job throughout this. There's also other club owners are all banding together to book them and get them as much as
And
they
again,
can.
this is a much better Act 2 opener than Nobody Is. Like, this is where we should be starting, with them trying to get gigs like they promised, and unexpectedly the town has rallied around them.
Because that makes sense for the time jump as well.
Yep. All of that makes sense. But yeah.
Yes.
Again.
And that does kind of track that they just had that in place and then wrote right this way. You're like, all right, we're just going to shift everything. It'll still be fine.
Yep. Just swing it all down a little bit. I mean, two act, I want to sympathize with them in this moment. 2-act structures are incredibly hard. Like, they're really, really hard. It's very unnatural to have the show pause in the middle at an emotional height. And there aren't many shows that do it flawlessly. It's true, because like the like what a great show that, like, the best example I can think of like a show that pauses right in the middle and I'm good with it is like Sweeney Todd, where the plot progresses along to a breaking point and then the whole story changes and we've escalated everything, and then Act 2 is going to be a different. Everyone's behaving differently in Act 2. The pie shop's successful. Sweeney's killing everybody. And like it's all, everything's weird. Like, Act 2 is a weird, bizarro version of Act 1, which is also still pretty bizarre. For a more contemporary example, Hamilton has a very logical end of Act 1 point, where it's like the stakes, everything gets raised, and now we're in phase 2. We're now going into, this pre-revolution, post-revolution. Perfect. But it's really hard to know where to split things up, which is why shows generally have, like, the famous thing being that, like, the first act of Fiddler on the Roof, I think, is 90 minutes and the second act is like 40. Like, it's just you end up with things being incredibly lopsided because there's just no good place to break it. And this has been brought into sharp relief recently with Wicked being split into 2 movies, because Wicked has an excellent act break, as we all know, but
Not as good as second act. Oops.
And also, to stick with theater for a second, though, Frozen, the stage version, is a good example of this, because Let It Go has to be the Act 1 finale of that show. However, Let It Go in the movie is the Act 1 break of a 3-act structure of a movie.
Yeah.
So it takes place a third of the way in, which means the whole second act, like, by the time we get to Let It Go, Kristoff and Anna haven't made it up the mountain yet, and we're halfway through our show. And that's bad, like, just from a structural character timing point. It doesn't make any sense. So in any event, it is really hard to know where to break an act. It's also, again, I think, a case where they had this concept for the song Nobody that can't be cut because it's been integrated deeply into the second act. So what do you do in that? Like, it's tough. Writing shows is hard. I'm not here to, to not say anything else. At the same time, do better.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a bigger movement these days to have one-act musicals.
Yes.
To avoid that issue, which is
not
it's done
new.
well.
I mean,
it's becoming. I feel like for a long time,
it's becoming a lot more accepted. I think it's standardized because, and also especially in New York, where moving people in and out of a Broadway house for an intermission is incredibly hard, and it takes a long time, and the streets get crowded, and it's really, really bad. So I think audiences are coming more and more to accept one-act shows. But like the original production of Follies on Broadway was one act. It was 2.5 hours, and it had no intermission because there's no good spot to break it, and people always break it after too many mornings.
They've tried different places, and
they have, and too many mornings is probably the best place, but it's still not a good place to break it. It's also weird to me that Company is a 2-act musical.
Yeah,
but it has a really good Act 2 opening number.
It does.
So I think it succeeds in that. But like the original production of that, now it has "Marry Me a Little" there. That wasn't there. It just ended on a song, like a scene, and that was the end of Act 1. So like, act breaks are really, really hard. They're really, really, really tricky.
But I don't know the extent of it, but I'm sure there was always huge pressure to have the concessions.
Yeah, and also to give everybody a break. I mean, you want to have a moment where people know they're going to be able to go to the bathroom. You want the actors to be able to sit down for a second and get some water. Like you do want those things. And so I've really come, like, I'm very of two minds about intermissions. I as a writer, I don't want them at all. But as someone who predominantly works in TYA, like, man, an intermission's handy when the kids are getting rowdy. So like it's the thing, that theater being always a struggle between artistic expression and practical restrictions.
Yeah.
And intermission's one of those, like, listen, we cannot have a bathroom break here, but this thing better than only be 100 minutes long because, man.
Yep.
And that's what Come From Away does. Come From Away is like, fine, no intermission. The show's also never going to stop. It doesn't even have applause breaks, except for my least favorite,
two.
Except for Me in the Sky. So like, it's just like, again. So sympathies to the creators of Bandstand. It's hard to break a show in half, but again, they didn't. They're the ones who chose to write the show. So here.
Yep.
'Cause Cleveland's got some brand new stars.
We love you, Cleveland!
So now in the show, this is our point where Julia finds out about the whatever.
Yes.
Donnie being responsible for
whatever.
Michael's death.
Yeah.
However.
Like we're not going to revisit it. Let's just say Donnie killed her husband. Let's just say that. But like,
Shot him point blank.
It's not true, but let's just say it.
So the next track is Everything Happens, and it opens with her telling her mother it's his fault. And so she's, to your point earlier, she's reacting very emotionally, very viscerally. And I love Beth Level.
It's perfect.
You cannot assign reason to things. Any reason you apply is a reason you supply.
Yes.
And that's
It's
true of so many
perfect.
things in life, that if you try to find order, you're just going to drive yourself crazy or lead yourself to being like, oh, I deserved this bad thing. Like all these bad things can come from this line of thinking. And I love that she's just like, no, we're shutting that down.
No, no, no. Everything happens just that. Everything happens. An event or a death, a catastrophe. Any reason as to why is a reason you supply. It just happens. Everything happens.
Yeah. In every show that I'm frustrated with, there is a moment where I see that everybody involved was very talented. And this is that moment where it doesn't. There's a different show, a version of the show where this song is all about how it does all have a meaning. We just can't understand it. Like she gives that answer, and she doesn't. She's like, shit happens, and you wake up in the morning and you go and you deal with it, and it is such a wonderful, appropriate kick in the pants of her mom just for the being the good parent and just being like, yes. It happened. So you're just going to throw everything else away that makes you happy?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? Like, what are you doing? And it's such a great And obviously Beth Level sells the crap out of it, and that all works beautifully. But it's so good it took me off guard. Like it really
Yeah.
did, because I was like, I did not think this show had that in it. It
Yeah.
didn't feel like that kind of show. And that's when I started to also then get mad, because I'm sort of like, well, you
Could have
can
done this.
do it. You could do it if you tried real hard, because that's the show. This is, in a better show, this is Hold On in Secret Garden. This is the moment of like, and now I'm kicking my main character back out into the world to like face the demons. But since Julia's not the main character and Donnie doesn't have a support network really, which apparently in the original workshop he did. There's like, if you read the cast list, he has like a whole family. I assume it's just
Oh.
like parents and siblings. Like there's this whole group who they just cut, I assume, for time, but existed at the paper mill. But it's that thing of like, man, it's in there. The show exists somewhere in this clay. You just cut some of the wrong pieces off, and now we're left with this thing. But at the same time, this is why we have cast albums for moments like this. Like this is a song. If somebody started doing this at a cabaret, I'd be like, yep, there we go. That's good. That's the one song from Bandstand that's really worth salvaging. And luckily, we have Beth Level singing it.
Yes.
A+. Yeah.
It's so good. And the line, putting faith in that cliche gives your own free will away. Like it's not just nonsense, it's damaging to think that it's in that situation of I can't control anything.
You can waste your whole damn life assigning bits of philosophic meaning to the failures and misfortunes intervening. And I'll tell you what you get. Just a lifetime of regret.
And it also doesn't feel unrealistic to the time. There's the danger in these shows that are taking place 80 years ago is that we're going to make the characters very modern in their points of view and have modern, I don't even mean like socially, but even like psychologically. Like that's a very like there's also a moment where she could be very like neo, whatever, life conscious about like this, like talking about things that were very not the mainstream but are now more mainstream thinking. And she doesn't. Her really is a song that could very easily be called Shit Happens.
Yeah.
And that has always been a point of view of like people since time immemorial that like, what are you going to do? Like, get up, go to work, shut up, do your job. It feels like that. It feels very old world, stop crying and face the music kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in the best way. And so I was very impressed with it in that. Again, Bandstand, you can do it if you try.
Yeah.
Wish you were trying more, but that's fine.
And
I guess.
And we do get the more maternal version of that because her kind of the culmination of her advice is
What matters when things happen is what happens after.
what you do next.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can control. That's all you can focus on and not go crazy. So she's still trying to be helpful, not just deal with it. But it's just, that's life. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control what's already happened. All you can control is what you can do going forward.
And how you respond. Yeah.
Yep. So good job for this one song.
Yeah, I know. It gets
amazing
there.
job, Beth Level.
And you know what? There are worse places to get there than the middle of Act 2. Like, it's...
Like in the rewritten version 10 years later.
Right. We're going to fix it, you and me.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
Well, for now, though, the next track is Welcome Home. So this starts as a poem that Julia wrote for the guys, and then Donnie thinks this should be a song.
Nick, learn to survive means you never trust. Once you've seen the worst in man, then how do you adjust? And I stand here helpless, my arms extended, knowing full well, darling, your war's not ended.
But then they realize that it's too dark, so she rewrites the lyrics to be more palatable. What's interesting about this...
you say your thing, and then I'll say my thing.
So there's a whole verse for Julia in the show, at least on the pro shot, that's not in the cast album.
Oh.
When kind of after that first bit, before she goes and rewrites the lyrics, she has a verse and chorus about kind of her meditating on what it means to do this and to rewrite the lyrics. And it's kind of more insight into her. And I don't understand why they cut it, because it's not like It's a 10-second line between real songs, unless it was added later in the pro shot.
I was going to say,
after
do you
that.
know when this album was, if this album was recorded before it opened?
The album was recorded in April of 2017 and opened April 26th of 2017. So it's possible.
So it is possible that this album was recorded before, like while they were, like after Paper Mill, in rehearsals, in previews.
Yeah, and if that verse was a late addition,
it was added later.
Yeah.
That would be that's usually why that happens.
Yeah.
Because it's not for time. They've got 30 seconds.
yeah, and you've got instrumental tracks that you included. So
Right.
if anything,
so
you
it's not
swap one
not
of those
that.
out for this,
Yeah, so it must be.
something like
It
that.
must-
Yeah,
That would be my speculation.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah. This is the moment when we realize, for me anyway, that Love Will Come and Find Me Again should not exist, and that this is the song they should have sung to win the competition in the first place. This song should have been introduced a long time ago because it will become incredibly important, and we should hear about the angry version or dark version, and then they should perform the saccharine version to win the concert.
yeah.
All the sleepless nights, praying you'd return safely to my arms with all the honor you would earn. Letters every day sent to reassure, knowing all the dangers were the duties of the tour.
And then at the end, when they make the choice they make, it's a real choice. The song's a proven winner, and they're intentionally going against it. Then it's a much more overt statement. As a result, but in the current version, this is a song they just wrote. No one's heard it except them, and now there are alternate lyrics. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't quite make it.
Yeah, you definitely could have done a whole lot more of an impact by having it structured that way.
Because this is the show. Like, let's be very clear. The song's
Yeah.
called Welcome Home. This is the show. The whole show is in this song. And it's the show they want it to be, is in this
Yeah.
song.
This
And
and,
the fact-
the version later. Yeah,
Yes. And the fact that it's not front loaded is doing everyone a disservice. Because this show should be front and center at the end of Act 1. And we should get like, oh, like because it's the conflict of the show being like, you told me this was going to be like it was before, and now it's not. And that's what this is. We wrote the dark version, but nobody wants to hear that. We'll sing the happy version. And then it's like, no, we're going to sing the dark version because that's what people need to hear. That's the whole point.
yeah. To be fair,
Sure.
for this to hit like it does, you do need to have enough emotional investment to have this feel authentic and not just an angry poem out of nowhere. And so it would definitely require even more work to modify the show before this number to have it at the end of Act 1, because you'd have to do more character development so that we
Sure.
are invested to care about this that early,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them being groups together. So it's not a simple change to just move it to where Love Will Come and Find Me Again is, but it
True.
would have been a better choice to do that and then rework the show around that.
Yes. And make Julia the main character, because then she comes in earlier so she can write the poem earlier, so then all these things can happen earlier. But anyway,
Yeah. All right. Like I said,
that is
we're-
not the show that these men were interested in writing.
But
so,
it's the show we're gonna write.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm racking those up this season.
There we go. Well, it's very easy from our comfortable seats.
It
to write these
definitely
shows.
is. Yeah.
Welcome home, my dear. Welcome home, my sweet. Welcome home, my hero. Welcome home, my heart. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home.
After this song, there's a tiny bit of a reprise of You Deserve It in the show that's not on the album, as basically they've given up because they couldn't raise enough money, and the town raised the money for them and bought them train tickets and booked their hotel rooms in the fanciest hotels. And so it's all very sweet, and that could have been a nice moment to have on the album, even if it's not a lot of music there. But I can't really fault them for not including it, because it really is like a line and a half of a reprise.
Right. Yeah. But the story on the album does jump suddenly from
Yeah.
everything sucks to, wait, we're in New York and the beds are huge. You know,
Yeah,
it's
so
just
it could have been nice to have that little transition.
some kind of transition would have been nice.
And we've
that
heard-
normally doesn't bother me, but in that case, it was sort of like,
Yeah, it's just a missed opportunity, I think.
yeah, I agree.
So instead, we get a band in New York City,
Right.
and
Which is exactly what you think it is.
Yep.
Buddy, do you realize we are on a first-class train? And the world is our domain on the way to New York City.
They're very excited to get their first class trip to New York after all.
Mm-hmm.
And this song has a lot of really good rhymes and like not totally expected rhymes, but true rhymes. So I appreciate that a lot. And we're getting things like,
On the journey to get there, we've got swell accommodations.
Crystal glassware, I bet they're gonna keep filled with libations.
like that's,
The alcoholic sings that one.
yes, of course. But like libations is not a word you're ever going to see coming.
True.
Especially
And is
at this
organic to the
tempo.
time.
Yeah.
Like that's somebody nowadays wouldn't say that, but in the 40s that would have been a much more common thing to hear.
Yeah, so this song is kind of episodic. It's just random things it's basically a montage of them leaving Cleveland to the end of their first night in New York. So it doesn't have the biggest through line, but we're getting all their different points of view as they move around the train and then the city.
Mm-hmm.
The one I really like though is
They've got more art than Venice, Broadway shows with Ethel Merman.
And the cabs are a menace. Could have used one on a German.
fun to get a Merman reference for one thing.
It is. It's fun to get a Merman reference. I don't know. That felt very. I think
A little
this song
forced.
suffers from being 6 minutes long, almost.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't need to be that long.
It really it really overstays its welcome, and I
Yeah.
think I would have liked that line better if the song had been about a minute and a half shorter. but again, watching it might have had a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
And there is a line that is hard to understand.
You've got clubs overflowing with celebrities and starlets.
And hot board sections flowing, as are all the whores and harlots.
As are all the whores and harlots. Just the way that it's mixed,
Yeah.
it's really hard to get that, so you don't get the joke.
Yeah.
And I
It's
also
also
don't,
not a good joke.
and I don't love that they say whores and harlots.
Yeah.
We're just padding the line by saying the same thing twice. It's not great
Yeah.
lyric writing, so maybe it's not the worst thing that we can't understand it.
It's also not like I don't know. Like it feels very out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It
So
just
if you're
feels
looking to
very-
cut things for time, that would have been one.
Yeah.
And then
But-
now, sorry, go ahead.
No, because now we're gonna get into
Now we jump
the
to
absolute low point of the show.
This Is Life. The music is structured to try to be a big, swelling, emotional number,
Yep.
and it just isn't.
No, it's not. It's the worst love duet since solo saxophone in Miss Saigon, which I know I've referenced before, but like
Thank you for. I hated that so much.
that song stinks, and this song isn't that bad because it's not as overwrought or as long. Like this song doesn't kill me because it comes in under 3 minutes.
If we were in a Hemingway book, we would laugh and drink till the morning. If this were a ballet, then I might sweep you off your feet without warning.
But like again, it's supposed to be this big emotional peak, and it's simply not. It is so unearned, and so again, like it's too much crammed into this little moment at the end of Act 2. Like this should be the problem from the beginning. These people should have slept together before she finds out he killed her husband. Like the commitment needs to be, or at least kissed. The commitment needs to be
Or even admitted that they have feelings for each other. Like,
right. They
this
need
is the
to,
first
yes,
time they're
that's true.
acknowledging that.
That's true. Let's back it up. Have an actual conversation. In a very like this. What this wants to be is what's the love duet at the end of Sunset Boulevard after when Joe and what's her name
Oh.
confess that they love you know what I mean though. There's
Yeah.
that scene. It may not even have a song. It may just be a scene where like she's like I love you and he's like I love you too, and then he's like that causes all the problems that it causes for the end of Betty Schaefer. That's her name. Causes for the end of that show. That's what this wants to be. This wants to be like, oh, those two people who we've been rooting for this whole time, you're finally going to get to see them get together. And I'm like, oh, is that what we're doing? I didn't think, oh, I guess so. Like,
Yeah.
he's the lead and she's the ingenue. So I guess.
May be perfect nights of celebration. life's more complicated.
This is another example to me of like really this romance has materialized over these last two songs, and that's it. And or this song and then the reprise that comes after. It's more realistic that things would probably bubble under the surface until they finally happen. But that's not interesting for us to watch as an audience at all.
Right.
Like we would really benefit from some breadcrumbs along the way to show what we're teasing toward, rather than it just
I
happens.
get that in a different show, if this show ended the way you expect it to end, which is that they win the competition and everything's great, that's the moment they would like explosively come together. But they wisely are not going to end the show that way. But so that puts them in a very, very awkward position if they still want them to have a love story. I don't think this needs to have a love story, personally.
No, I think you can address the complicated feelings without actually going to that place of developing it into a love story.
Yeah, because it diminishes both of them, ultimately. You know, a misunderstanding could have been funny, like he thinks she's in love with, like something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or he could use it as an excuse that like you're falling in love with me, so you're out of the band. Like we can't use your song. You know what I mean? Like some kind of conflict there that comes
Some sort of plot.
from and comes from an expectation of like how I think this is all supposed to go. But again, the show isn't thinking on those levels. And
Yeah.
even the love story would work better if Julia was the main character, because we'd get to see somebody wrestle with it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just it. Yeah. Don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Exactly. For me,
Ron Swanson
this
said.
is just, it's one simple idea that's stretched into 3 minutes. It could be worse. Could be a lot longer.
Could be
But-
worse. Yes, that's true. It could be longer. Like I don't know. This again,
we're
this
not
kind of
evolving
idea.
it. We're not varying the idea. It's just that one thing repeated with different examples and
Yeah.
not
goes on
interestingly.
forever.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's under 3 minutes, and it feels interminable.
Yeah.
Because also, like you said, you know immediately what they want this song to be, and it just simply isn't.
Yeah.
It just isn't that thing, and it's very clear, sort of from the jump, that like you haven't earned this, but I still have to sit here and listen to it.
Exactly.
But this is life, so at least for today, we should probably say good night.
And then we have a reprise of This Is Life.
Yes, which is my least favorite thing that shows do, with no point. Like there's no, it doesn't take it to another level. If you're going to immediately reprise a song.
Well, the reprise is only here to give us the plot to set up the Welcome Home finale.
right.
But
That's true.
But you could have reprised anything for this or whatever. I don't know.
Or just
It's
not just had it be a scene. Like
Yeah.
I don't need it. Yeah.
because between This Is Life and the reprise, they have had the contract. Well, one of the guys in the band is in law school, so he actually like looked at the contract, got a copy of it. And he's like, "This is really bullshit. This is
We're getting screwed.
They will own the song. They only are obligated to put us in a movie in the background, not us
Right.
performing our song. Like all these things are going to screw them over."
Which again
and-
is the way it would
which
be.
is the reality.
100% the reality of the situation.
Yeah. So now they're like, "Well, we don't want to win then."
Right.
But they see an opportunity to be authentic. And
Yes.
so instead, they're going to go and do the original lyrics of Welcome Home.
This is no naive Hollywood dream. It's a gutsy risk we'll be taking. Times like this, you hold on to what's real. That's the honest statement we're making.
And it is also a benefit to I Got a Theory, which is they know they have a support system. Like this is again themes of the show that they want the show to be about. Like one of the reasons they can be brave is because they have a support system. They know that like they haven't burned all their bridges. They have a place to go back to. They're out on the front lines of New York fighting this war, and they can go home because there is a home to go back to. But the show is not like I am saying all these things to you, dear listener. The show does not. The show is not has not interrogated that. I, after 3 listenings and 2 hours of talking to Alex, have come up with that. Like this is not in the show, but it could be. It could have been. Could have been the show we were watching. Because the ending is great. Like it's so bizarre. Usually shows like this peter out at like when they're this poorly thought out or this poorly constructed, they kind of flop to the end. But damn it, if they don't land the plane, man, it's so frustrating.
Yep.
They do it.
'Cause this is life with the craziness of the reality of the necessity of being madly in love with you.
The next track is Welcome Home Finale.
And it's great.
And it's great. It's a little bit more up-tempo than the version before.
Yes.
And it is a full, honest account of how they're all struggling.
Johnny made it home, most of him at least. Had 3 operations, but the pain has not decreased. Nick learned to survive, means you never trust. Once you've seen the worst in man, then how do you adjust? Davy cracks a joke, claims to be alright. Drinks a 5th of vodka in his kitchen every night.
And it's not angry. It's not.
It's just factual.
It's not. It doesn't feel disingenuous. It just feels like this isn't romantic or pretty, but it's what it is.
And
yeah,
it does get a little bit emotional when she is like, and it kills me that I can't fix them. I can't solve this for them.
Donnie wants an answer. Donnie looks for absolution. And I'd give up anything if I could give him some. And I stand here helpless, my arms extended, knowing full well, darling, your war's not ended.
Like we did hear that bit of these lyrics in the first version before they changed the lyrics.
Right.
But now we've had the whole buildup of the other verses that were not shared with us as an audience the first time.
Right.
And it hits even harder that the war's not ended for them. They're having PTSD. They're having ongoing issues with injuries and concussions and all these things that will maybe never leave.
All these, and it is much to this show's credit that it brings up all these soldiers' problems, but it does not, by the end of the show, solve any of them. Nor should it, because that would never happen.
The win is acknowledging that these problems are there.
Yes, exactly.
So
Right.
maybe
Openly
a hope of
and
dealing
honestly
with it in the future.
in a setting, yes, which at the time is a huge victory.
Yeah.
Welcome home, my boys. Welcome home, my sons. Welcome home, my husband. Welcome home, my love. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home.
So it is a great and great
It
ending to the
is.
show.
It's a great ending, and it's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating because you can do it.
The
if
show
you
that could have
try,
been.
and a better title, a little more focus. You have a great ending.
Yeah.
So, man, I swear to God,
Yeah.
you drive me nuts.
But then we get an epilogue.
Which sucks.
So they were coming out of the movie theater after seeing the movie that they would have been in, and like, oh, that was terrible. Good thing we didn't do that. And people come up and recognize them. They're even more famous than the group that won the contest, and it's not ideal.
Sucks.
After the part that felt so true in the last track of what they're feeling, the part that I can't stand is this girl is excited and she tells her, oh, my dad served. And then he's like, oh, instead of an autograph, bring her dad backstage. I want to meet him.
Right.
Okay, you don't.
Sucks.
You just say that to anybody who has a relative that served as well. Like,
That tells you they have a relative that served.
Yeah.
You don't even know that. Like,
and just
anyway.
you're trying to be magnanimous, I guess, but it does not ring true, and I don't like that.
Bobby Soxer swooned at my charm.
Give me a break.
Backed up by my brothers in arms.
It is them! It's the Donnie Newman!
Oh no.
For a show that and again, maybe this is the show. Maybe this is the problem. But the show ending on Welcome Home as an ending is powerful and rousing. And I don't need to know what happens to the characters after that moment. I don't care.
Because we have our moral victory.
Yeah. They have come into their own. They have asserted themselves and they have made a public stance. And they didn't win. I know they didn't win the competition. It's so, for a show that has been up and down, ending on this moment of pure, of a genuine feeling and on the right side and feeling all that is so satisfying. To then immediately undercut yourself by being and they're huge stars anyway. It's guys, shut up. No, they're not. They're not. They're simply not. Now if the epilogue was they're huge in Cleveland, that's a funny ending
Yeah.
to me. And they have like an epilogue where they're like, we're huge in Cleveland, we're on the radio in Cleveland, like because that's a thing. Local radio's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, there's all these like USOs and chapters of VFWs are starting to form. That's a new thing, and people want you to come sing like out in Dubuque, and like, you know, you can have a little funny Midwestern sing as far away as wherever, Rockaway,
Yeah.
you know, like whatever. You could do that, like, and it's local success. Like that's fun. But like now that they're stars, go fuck yourself. I'm really sorry. Like this just like show.
Yeah.
You had me. You lost me so many times. You had me and lost me, and then right at the end, I'm like, yes. And then like no. It's like if
I like that though.
Carolina Change ended with Lot's wife, and then after that was like, but Caroline got all her money back, and we solved racism. It's like, guys,
No, you didn't.
stop it.
Spray bottle.
Stop it.
Yeah. I'm guessing they just wanted to end on a happy.
Because
Nope,
this
rephrasing
isn't life.
nobody.
This is a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
This is how it has to end. Disingenuous. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll stop being so mad about it. But
And that's the album.
and that's the album.
So get out of my way. Find somebody else who gives a fig what you say. Go discipline someone up there. Last time I checked, you were not my mother.
The show ran for 166 performances at the Jacobs Theater.
Somehow.
2 nominations, Lost Orchestrations, 1 choreography. The album was produced for Broadway Records by Michael Kreuter and Greg Anthony Rassin with audio
Who also
engineer.
wrote the orchestrations, correct?
Yes, he was
the-
one of the 2 orchestrators. And the audio engineer was Andy Manganiello or Manganiello. And it's a journey
Released
for sure.
on Broadway Records, art directed by Robbie Rozelle.
Yes. And who's your standout performer on this album?
It's Beth Level. It's a boring answer, but it's Beth Level. Like, you notice when she comes on, you go, your ear perks up.
You want more of her?
Yeah, and but also like she blows the doors off the thing. She's they're great. The difference to me between a good performer and a great performer is a good performer can take good material and really do it, and a great performer can take bad material and still really do it. And Beth Level, though all her songs are better than the average song in this show, every time she comes out, I'm just like, great, thank God Beth Level's here. I think everybody's fine. Like nobody's doing a bad job. I think Laura Osnes is good, and I think that Corey Cott's singing is great, and then his acting on the album is middling. But he also doesn't have great material. So you see what I mean? Like he's no better than the material. Beth Level is way better than the material. So the answer to the question is Beth Level.
I think I was going back and forth, Beth Level or Laura. I think I'm going to go with Laura. This is my first time hearing her. She had many cast albums before this, but this was the first one that I actually listened to and recognized her as her. Because I didn't really listen to that version of Cinderella. I listened to the Lea Salonga one before, and other things that she had done. I listened to other versions of whatever it was. So
Sure.
I appreciate that, and I think that has stuck with me still. And I know the answer already, but your go-to track.
Oh, it's just make sure I have the title of the damn thing right.
Everything Happens.
There it is. Everything Happens. I'm looking at I can't find it. I don't have my glasses on though. Probably the problem. Yeah, Everything Happens. Everything Happens is a unexpectedly great song in a otherwise the songs just kind of blend. There's not a lot of songs that stand out, especially for either being good or bad. Like they just sort of fly together. But no, Everything Happens is without question the best song on the album.
Dramatically, I agree, but for me, I'm gonna want to listen to Right This Way more often. So that's my go-to track, just because I love the energy of it. It's a lot of fun to sing along with. So that's what I'm gonna go with. But now I'm very curious to see how this scoring goes.
I leaned on your guide so hard.
Good.
Try to be.
I hope it was helpful.
So ultimately, where I'll end up with this show, as I've said it a million times before on my own podcast, I want more musicals not based on anything. I want more musicals not based on movies, not based on plays, not based on existing IP. And this musical is an original story. And I have to accept the fact that like I want this. It doesn't mean it's going to be good, but it is what I want. So I had to sort of decided like, okay, I'm going to give it a break. Like everything that is not based on existing IP gets a bonus point in my scoring.
Okay.
Just for being that way. So I did that, and I didn't want to be too harsh because it's not offensive. It's just kind
and
of,
that's the idea of breaking it into the categories, is to
Yes.
recognize where it's doing an okay job, where it's really not.
very helpful. Yes, you were
So-
incredibly helpful.
I'm glad. For
Yes.
music composition out of 15 points.
7.
7. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. It's right down the middle for me. And I think part of it being the phrase you wrote was the music is average and it was fine to listen to. Like, and that's sort of how I feel about it. And like, I know you're going to score it higher. Was the other sort of like
Yeah.
thought, like you'll probably score it higher. But it just didn't, it just washed over me. So
Okay.
7.
I'm going to go with an 11. I think it's not groundbreaking really in any way. Maybe the incorporation of taps, but mostly it's not. But I really enjoyed it. And this is one I will happily re-listen to, unlike other albums from the season that I likely will not.
Am I being too mean?
You do what you do.
Okay.
I mean, in general, based on the last season,
I was gonna say, am I tanking the show like way lower than it should be in the rankings? Is the
mean,
other thing I'm worried about.
in general, you were a generous scorer last season.
Oh, I was, yeah.
so
Okay.
I
All right.
I trust you.
I'm sticking with it.
Okay. For
right.
lyrics out of 15.
7, also 7. Like,
Okay. I'm gonna go with 10. I think very little. There are a couple things here and there, but very little of it is offensive. Most of it is fine, and there are a few fun, good lyrics. And maybe this is a framing issue of the albums I've listened to recently, where I've really been not a fan of the lyrics.
Sure.
That this is a breath of fresh air, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. Performance virtuosity out of 15 points.
So using again your guide that how impressive are the vocals and instrumentals as an example of what the performance can be, I'm gonna give it an 11.
Okay.
Because I thought, again, there's some people doing some great work, there's some people doing some fun, but nobody really except for Beth Level rises above the material. And if I score the material in a mediocre way, then the performance kind of has to be scored but still I enjoyed it, so
Okay.
I'll go higher on that. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with 12. I think Laura sounds great, even if it's not the most memorable because of the material. She does have some good stuff in there to sing. Beth is amazing. Like I said, Corey, when he's singing, sounds great. And nobody's in a full, like, ugly character voice situation.
Yes, very true.
So,
Nobody standing out as a problem.
yeah. Personality out of 15 points.
This I gave a 12. I thought that I could one of the big problems in a show like this where everything is so mediocre is telling actors apart can become a problem, and that was never a problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
All the performers I necessarily couldn't tell you who they were, but I knew I wasn't here. Like, I knew when Don was singing, I knew obviously when Laura was singing, and I knew when each of the supporting characters
Yeah.
distinctly were singing.
Even if you can't remember
So-
which one's named which.
Which
they-
is totally
they
fine.
feel
I just
very
knew it was a
different.
different person, and that's so important.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, I'm also going to go
Give
with
it 12 for
12.
that. Yeah.
I think there are bits that are flat, largely because of the writing and the dialogue bits, I think. But for the most part, they're doing a pretty decent job at convincing us of who they are and what they're doing, such as it is. For theatricality, storytelling out of 15 points.
So as I said in my last episode, this is something I don't care about a lot on cast albums. So it's hard for me to score, but I'm going to give it a 14. I was following the show based on
Okay.
your metric. There were a couple, and if I choose to care about it based on your metric, there were a few moments where we made big time jumps, like plot jumps on the album without much notice. Never did it super bother me, but it was noticeable. So I'll take a point off for that and give it a 14.
Okay. I'm going to go with 13.
Okay.
There are a couple things like Love Will Come and Find Me Again that could just as easily be airdropped into any show. They're not specific to this story. Do not feel like they're part of telling us any specific story, just a pop song, which is admittedly what's going for, but at least like Ain't We Proud and You Deserve It does still feel like it's within the arc of the characters as well.
realms,
Yeah.
sure.
So emotiveness out of 10 points.
I gave it a 9.
As did I. I think
Yeah.
the feelings evoked from the Welcome Home finale are very powerful, especially, like I said before, material like this that is so easy to make me roll my eyes, and to actually make me feel that much with it is impressive.
And it never drops below. It's like it has a level that it holds on to.
Beth level?
And so Beth level. And so that every now and again it like kicks me up a little bit, and then it never drops back down. You know what I mean? Like it never does. Like a really good song isn't followed by something bad or
Yeah.
something like from Wicked, where you're sort of like, what the hell is going on? So I never dip. I never got like a high, but it never really brought me low. So yeah, I think a 9 is a pretty solid score. There.
Excellent. And then for remaining categories, inventiveness out of 5 points.
I gave it a 2. I don't know what to do with this
Same.
really. It didn't.
That's not the
it's
point
an
of the
original,
show.
but right.
It's not. Yeah, it's an original. It's not based on another IP, but it's not crazy in the kind of storytelling it's doing, the music it's doing.
Yeah.
It's just going for a vibe, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it hits it. So
It doesn't
gets
have to
it gets
be
a
remade
1
to the
really,
brim.
and then a bonus point for being an original musical.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
Clarity and usability out of 5 points.
I mean, based on your metric, I didn't notice any recording or mixing issues, and the tracks all make sense. Yeah, it's a 5. Like, it's a very well produced album.
All right.
So-
I'm gonna go with 4.5. I think.
Okay, I was
The-
also avoiding half points on purpose. I was always rounding up when
Okay.
I found myself giving it a half point. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple of very minor things, but nothing to make me take a full point off. And like I wish that verse of Laura's in whichever song that was.
Sure. Had made it
had
back
made
in.
it-
Yeah.
Somehow go back and re-record that before it was released. I know that's
Oh,
not
they
as
definitely
it's
aren't
not
going
as
to do that.
simple.
They got to pay her a whole week's
That-
salary if they do that. They're
It sounds
definitely
very
not doing
simple, but
that.
it's not at all simple. So I understand.
Not at all. No. Incredibly
Theoretically
hard.
simple, practically not. And then curb appeal out of 5 points.
So I have another one of my prejudices. Any show that uses photographs of the cast in the poster automatically loses a point for that. I don't like posters that feel like movie posters. Like Bridges of Madison County is the prime example of this to me. It's the worst poster in the world.
It's terrible.
So
I didn't even listen to the album for a long time because I thought it would be terrible.
because it's awful, yeah. So it loses a point for that. But otherwise, if it like the design of it's great, and obviously the poster it's a good picture. It's a good collage. I like the way not everybody's looking at the lens. It's very thought through. It's very dramatic, and obviously Robbie does great work. So 4 out of 5.
Okay.
And that's not Robbie's fault. That's the show's fault because they're the ones who came up with the poster.
Yeah.
So he's working with what he's got, and he does a great job.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4.5 again. I think the bold colors of the black and white and red being the prominent the theme that you see is very striking. The font for the logo,
terrible title.
for the
Good,
title
yes.
is reminiscent of kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to be in for. And I'm less bothered by the photos because it's not a photo like Bridges of Madison County where it's
Yes,
a
it
photo
is.
of the two of them.
It is. It's
the,
a design.
The head's
They've-
cut out and moved around, so it doesn't bother me as much as
But
it does
still-
if it's just a photo.
If Follies is the apex, and I think it
Oh,
is,
Yeah.
then everything else has to be judged on that. And like we
Yeah.
can do that. If we can do that, we can do better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So
This show really would have benefited for me for something in that vein of like a pro-war poster, like Victory in Europe poster with like the picture from Times Square of the sailor sexually assaulting the passerby.
Yeah.
But like torn in a weird way to show that like, oh, it's not everything you think it is. Something like that. It would have really benefited from that because it would have told me that the show had depth and it wasn't a jukebox show. Like this poster really screams jukebox show to me.
Yeah, because that font also definitely evokes that jukebox era.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's a terrible title.
that brings my score to 78, yours to 71. So an average of
Okay,
74
not
and a
that
half.
far apart.
We're not
all
that-
right.
Not as far apart as I was thinking we would be.
Yeah. Yeah, we started in a bad place.
But we got there. It's all good.
We got there.
Well, this was a lot
I
of
found
fun.
myself really agreeing with the New York Times review, which I always have mixed feelings about. But like, I
Yeah.
really did like. I read that right before we got together, and I was like, "Yep, that's pretty much how I feel." I think this.
Yeah,
I think.
I did the same. I read it just before, and a lot of it I agree with, but not as viciously as they felt.
Yes, they were a little hard up, but then again, we didn't have to sit through it, so like that's a
I
different
mean,
experience.
I'm sure I've sat through worse. I went to see Moulin Rouge,
Yeah.
so
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
anyway,
we did it.
we did it. Patrick, thank
We
you so
did.
much. This was
Of course,
fun to
always a
have
pleasure.
somebody who didn't love the album as much as I do to have a back and forth and not just a love fest.
Yes, which is always good. This is a fun season you're doing here. This has
It's a
got
big one.
some big swings, some big hits, some controversies, culminating in the Tony Awards that year,
Yes.
which I hope you talk about.
There will not be a bigger season of the podcast than this.
It's pretty huge.
So far, this is the most. There have been 3 years that have had this many cast albums, and the other 2 were in the 2020s.
right.
So no
And
other
this is
season
gonna
can be
be
longer.
massive. And it's also fun. I'm glad you're doing it in this year of real life theater where it feels like this is not going to be a very big, like there's not a lot to talk about.
so sad.
This is this feels like we're careening towards a Memphis. And,
Well, it's not gonna be that bad.
is what, no, but it is, but you know what I mean by that.
It's gonna be an
Like,
underwhelming win. Yeah.
It's going to be an underwhelming. Yeah. This will be great. I'm still excited to watch the Tonys as I always am, but
Yeah. Well, Patrick,
Cool.
this has been a lot of fun. If people want to stay up on all the things that you do, what would be the best way for them to keep up with that? Either your creative endeavors or just your commentary on musical theater.
all my stuff
There's so
is
much.
at unknownpenguin.com, including a link to my Substack where you can keep up with me every other week about what I'm doing and what I'm thinking about things. It's both a journal of all the stuff I have going on and lately a lot of meandering thoughts about the state of the world and how we find hope. That's sort of been something I've been
So there's a
thinking
way?
about a lot.
Oh, I love that. then.
But unknownpenguin.com, that's all my stuff. If you're in the DC area, I'll be directing a show for Adventure Theater this coming fall, and then I have another show premiering at Adventure Theater that I wrote the following fall. So that's like 2 years in advance.
Mark your
because that's
calendar.
how these things
Yeah.
get planned. Yeah.
That's exciting.
I'll be asking to come back on to promote that. So
Perfect.
ready.
We'll be glad to have you.
Yeah.
You can-
Excellent.
You can follow the podcast on Instagram at Little Things You Hear Together. Email me questions, thoughts, comments at littlethingsyouheartogether@gmail.com. Please follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And check back next week for another album from this packed 2016-17 Broadway season. Thanks again, Patrick.
Thank you.